Yeah, he's such a great guy. You know, those Kansas City guys, they'll
For
get you.
sure, for sure.
So my husband's from here, and it made the most sense for us as we were deciding where we wanted to settle to make Kansas City our home.
That's very cool. No, we certainly appreciate it whenever there is somebody that has your background and is also wanting to do some things in the community. That's really cool as well. In the first annual Monica Abbott Scholarship Golf Tournament, tell us about what's coming up on May 6th and what the scholarship, where it goes, and who it helps.
Yeah, so I have, a two-time Olympian and played softball at the highest level, and so I started this scholarship for female athletes. They have to be multi-sport athletes, and every year since 2013, we've been giving out two of them to athletes all over the country. And since we've moved to Kansas City, we're like, we need to make a big push and make a bigger fundraiser, put a little bit more time into this scholarship. So we're hosting a golf tournament to, create a better future for these young athletes. Of course, I want every female athlete to go on to play college softball, or college sports. But I also understand that that's not always the case. Sometimes people go to college on a softball scholarship or a basketball scholarship, and they might only get room and board, or they might only get books as a percentage of their scholarship. So there is still it's not always a full ride, and that means there's still a financial piece that has to be involved for these families. So I created this scholarship that is based on leadership and their athletic ability, to help ease some of that burden and to help create that opportunity so that hopefully these athletes stay in the game in college and eventually come back to the sport after they're done with school and find a way to be involved in their career in sports.
If you want to register your team for this golf tournament, you can go to monicaabbott.com, monicaabbott.com. You can register your team. There's sponsorship opportunities, certainly silent auction items for those that want to play and participate in things like that. I'm curious, how do you enter the pool of candidates to be selected for the MA14 scholarship for this multi-sport female athlete that's given out?
Well, the scholarship, you apply online for the scholarship, and it's actually, you just apply online like anything these days.
Cool.
And there's a committee that picks the winner.
Very cool.
And there's a committee that picks the winner. Unfortunately, I don't get to pick the winner. I have to set the categories or the criteria for that year. So I can put in things like, hey, you have to be a softball player, or you have to have a 3.5 GPA or things like that. But I'm not, the scholarship rules, I'm not actually allowed to be on the committee that picks the winners. I just get to kind of set the criteria. But we're excited for the golf tournament and the opportunity to really put some love into this scholarship. Shields has come on as a big sponsor for it. So May 6th, we're excited, a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
To put on a good event.
I get it. And the first ever, there's so many things of the unknown, right? I mean, you've been through in your career so many first times, and first time, head to Tennessee to play in a college softball game. First time with the Olympic team. There's these first times that you don't know what you don't know yet, and that has to be one of the more nerve-wracking parts, and it's why certainly we want to be a part of it and help grow this thing because it's for such a great cause. But yeah, I can imagine the nerves and the nervous excitement that goes into May 6th. That seems like it's right around the corner right now.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We are pretty blessed so far. We have some great help and some good sponsors that have come on board. But you go through all the details, so that part makes you nervous. And until everything shows up and it's running smoothly, you're always thinking, okay, did I cover everything? Is there enough food? Is there enough drinks? Is there, is everyone having a good time?
Yeah, those are things that you just, I guess you don't know until you get there. I'm pretty sure people will probably be having a good time when they're out there. Lakewood Oaks Country Club in Lee Summit, Missouri. MonicaAbbott.com is the website. Monica Abbott is our guest. I'm curious, as someone who was, you spent so much of your life on the softball field and doing so many different things, whether it's going to Tennessee or with the U.S. Olympics, from your perspective, seeing this growth in women's sports and coverage of women's sports as well. Certainly
Yeah.
with Caitlin Clark and the WNBA, but also I know it wasn't Tennessee, but Oklahoma's dominance on the softball field and the Women's College World Series and the ratings for that. And unfortunately, they did go through Tennessee for the College World Series last year. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
But there's more attention that's being paid now. More people are watching and appreciating the women's game.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. I think we have seen some big stars come through women's sports, right? Some big names. We've seen the Jocelyn Allows in softball. We've seen, a Monica Abbott back in our day. We've seen people that have started to build the momentum, but for someone like a Caitlin Clark to come in and completely capitalize on that, a generational talent that is just going to change the landscape of women's sports that we've all been trying to do. It makes me feel so good. It makes, I think, every female athlete across sports feel great. And it's really props to the coverage, I think, and the storytelling, right? An athlete is good skill-based, but when we see the stories that the media puts out, it makes us invested in her. It makes us invested in the team, and it makes it fun to watch, right? Like when I know the struggles, when I know the joys, when I know the excitement, when I know why she gives a heart to her family, after every win, things like that, it makes you excited to look for those things. And that storytelling that the media is doing, that coverage, that latches people on. And I just think as women's sports continue to grow because of the past, but also because of hopefully this tipping point with Caitlin Clark, things will just continue to take off for not only women in the collegiate level, but hopefully that'll, trickle into the professional side of women's sports.
Monica Abbott is our guest. MonicaAbbott.com, the first annual Monica Abbott Scholarship Golf Tournament coming up Monday, May 6th. One of the most decorated and best softball players that has ever lived. And I wonder from this standpoint, when we talk about the women's sports and the impact that Caitlin Clark is having and, more attention being paid, and certainly UConn women's basketball has been there. But back in the day, it was all about Tennessee, and the Lady Vols and Pat Summitt. My wife is a huge Pat Summitt fan. She's got a water bottle signed by Pat Summitt when she went to Pat Summitt basketball camp. And the best thing, she tells the story, Monica, of her and one of her friends are like in junior high, and they somehow got lost and showed up to late to a clinic. And somebody told them, you show up late again, you're going to go see Pat. So they actually discussed whether or not they should show up late. So they would get to go see Pat. It may not have been on a good thing, but they would get to go see Pat, even if it was from a disciplinary standpoint.
Yeah,
like that
would be worth it.
In junior high, they're like, should we actually show up? I mean, don't you threaten me with a good time. I may show up late just so I can go visit Pat.
Don't you threaten me with Pat Summitt making me run. Yes, I'll run through the brick wall for her.
Absolutely. Like she's she went to WKU, so she went to Western Kentucky, but she loves watching Tennessee basketball, the women's. And I think when I think of women's sports in college, I think Tennessee was one of those that was sort of on the forefront of embracing the women's sports, and it's not just on the basketball side, but certainly the softball side as well. Like they feel like a university that whether it's perception from the outside or maybe it was reality, you played there, of more of an embracing and appreciating the women's side of the athletic department.
Yeah, Tennessee definitely, I think it was a reality. It was one of the reasons that made me want to actually go to Tennessee. I think at the time, Tennessee, having the Lady Vol logo, having the athletic department that supports women's sports, and that was a big part of basketball and Pat Summitt's, legacy, but it trickled into every aspect of women's sports and not just at the university. So Tennessee really did support their female athletes, and not every school was like that. And so, we were able to get good stadiums, get good travel budgets, and, Tennessee softball went to the Worldwide of Sports my freshman year, and we had like a 2-week camp down there. We were able to do all those big things, in that decade that I played because of the support of the university. And at the time, that wasn't across the board at every school. I think I can say I believe the SEC was at the forefront of that, and at the forefront of the SEC, Tennessee led that charge. And now what's really cool is that obviously we're seeing it all throughout the country, across conferences, across social media, and we're seeing stars. We're seeing female athletes become stars.
Well, I mean, and when it comes to softball, I mean, if we look at Texas and Oklahoma going into the SEC next year, I think 9 of the top 12 in the top 25 rankings are in the SEC. So it's, maybe winning the SEC is more difficult than winning the College World Series.
Yeah, we talked about I'm doing broadcasting for the SEC and ESPN right now, and we're talking about coming into postseason play for softball in May. And right now, I think 11 of the 12 teams in the SEC will make postseason play. There's only one school that's on the bubble, and that's Ole Miss. And then you just add Texas and Oklahoma, which are both relatively ranked 1 and 2 right now in the polls. So adding that is just going to make the conference even stronger. So it's going to be an exciting postseason this year. A little bit more parity, but definitely some big softball stars like Nyjah Kennedy, who's actually a Kansas City Metro native. And then obviously Tennessee softball as well as up there. So big shout out to them and their flamethrower, Carlin Pickens. So hopefully they make a good run, but Oklahoma and Texas for sure are going to be 2 tough teams to beat.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun to watch. I look forward to the Women's College World Series every single year. And Nyjah Canada from Topeka, I believe, is where she is from, Topeka, Kansas. Monica Abbott, MonicaAbbott.com. One more time, tell people how they can get involved with the first annual Monica Abbott Scholarship Golf Tournament coming up Monday, May 6th. It's at Lakewood Oaks Country Club in Lee Summit.
Yeah, Monday, May 6th. We have a 12:30 tee time, 11:30 we'll serve lunch. But we would love to have you out. Consider this your personal invitation. You can register your team on MonicaAbbott.com, the Scholarship Golf Tournament page. And it's going to be a great time. We have some good events planned and looking forward to seeing you.
Absolutely. Monica Abbott joining us, MonicaAbbott.com. Monica, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciated it. Enjoyed the conversation and look forward to the College World Series and the coverage and everything, and certainly the golf tournament coming up on Monday, May 6th. The first of what will be many, many here in the Kansas City area, and many female athletes getting an opportunity to excel and an opportunity may not have been there with the scholarship that'll be given out. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, there's Monica Abbott, MonicaAbbott.com, where you can go and check out and register your team, sponsorship opportunities, silent auction items will be up there, and more. Again, MonicaAbbott.com. That comes up Monday, May 6th, Lakewood Oaks Country Club in Lee Summit. We take a timeout. We come back. More Zone next. see the silent auction items that are coming up. That's at Lakewood Country Club, Lakewood Oaks in Lee Summit. So you can go and check that out. My old stomping grounds. I didn't live there; I just stomped around Lakewood. So
boots, big boots or something? Or?
Yeah, I was just stomping. My boots were made for walking and stomping at times. I don't know. I'm not sure. But they the golf tournament, MonicaAbbott.com. You can go and check that out and see how you can sign up and participate there. We are hanging out today at Casey Cannabis, our location in Blue Springs, just off I-70, 7 Highway. And they've got 4 locations. The location we are at today is the one with the drive-thru. That's pretty sweet. Lake Lotawana, Kearney, Excelsior Springs, and also they got a 5th location coming up in the Northland near Zona Rosa, right next to the Initub off I-29 and Barry Road. Right there is where the next location will be. We're hanging out here. They got buy one, get one, 40% off on all edibles going on at all 4 locations. But today, we're at this location where you can come in and register to win a Bobby Witt KC Connect jersey. Those KC Connect jerseys are freaking sweet, but you got to be in here today. We'll be giving that away just before 2 o'clock. So when the show is over, we'll be doing the drawing. So you have to be here at some point to register. You don't have to be present to win, but you got to be present at some point today while we're on the air to win that one. So that's location today, Casey Cannabis. They've got specials going on tomorrow, happy hour all day. They got the Saturday 420 celebration going on, food trucks, vendors, giveaways, all of that stuff. It'll be at all 4 locations. The Blue Springs location, you get some other cool goodies as well. 913-912-4810. Let's bring in Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KCSN.substack.com, the KC Laboratory Podcast. We're hoping the Chiefs will get some goodies next week in the NFL Draft. Matt, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. We're a week away from the NFL Draft. This is one of my favorite times of year, so it's hard to say I'm doing anything but fantastic right now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I wish it was happening tonight, and next week I'll be glad that it's happening that night. But, I just want it to be here already, just studying mock drafts, doing the mock draft simulator, reading all of the things. Like, I'm just ready to know who the Chiefs have drafted. What do you do as your guys' draft guide is already out? We know the different Nats guys that are out there that we've talked about before. What do you do in this last week? Because you are as studied up as anybody. Are you just sort of looking at other guys? Are you going through more mock draft simulators? Like, how do you spend this last week trying to get through the days so we can just simply get to draft night next week?
Yeah, typically this final week is, I wouldn't say hectic. It's pretty easy, like in terms of like having draft coverage or like your knowledge base kind of covered and stuff like that. But since we, for KCSN, are going to be doing kind of like our live show during the entire draft, we do spend this last week trying to get our eyes on absolutely as many players as we can. So that way there's as few surprises, at least in the first 2 days of the draft, in terms of guys we don't have much to say about, to get that done. So like, it's just kind of watching some guys we haven't got to watch yet. For the draft guide, we have multiple people that work on it, which has been fantastic. It allows us to get, I think, a little bit deeper into each player, but that also means that maybe I haven't watched every single player as of this moment. So I use this last couple, 2 weeks after the draft guide releases, heading up to the draft, to make sure I go back through and watch everybody that is at least in the top 100, top 150, and try to see how far I can push that out until I know a little bit of everything. So I feel like I'm in a good spot this year. I got a couple more guys that I'm going to run through this final week, but besides that, it's mostly trying to protect my voice and save my voice for like 18 hours of talking coming up next week.
No, I get it. Understandable, man. You guys have great coverage with the NFL Draft. Let's talk a little bit about some of these players. And you've written there at KC Sports Network, the KCSN.substack.com. You've written there about some of the sleepers, and you identified them in certain ways in connections with the Chiefs. What about these 3 guys do you think could be connected to the Chiefs in some way, or could be names that maybe we should be looking out for a week from Saturday?
Yeah, so right now on our Substack, kcsn.substack.com, I wrote an article that went up today just about 3 K3 sleepers that I like a little bit more than I think consensus right now, but then also I think there is a direct on-field connection that I can make with the Chiefs in terms of how the Chiefs have operated in the past or things they like to do. And so the first one is an offensive lineman at a TCU named Brandon Coleman. He has played guard. He has played tackle. He's got the requisite size at 6'4.5", over 300 pounds, nearly 35-inch arms. he kind of checks all the boxes for a player that the Chiefs like to play at tackle. But if it doesn't work there, he can kick inside the guard, and almost every single guard that the Chiefs have ever drafted or ever really invested in has played tackle at some point in time. So on the field, he fits it, but then more so, and this is where I wanted to go the extra layer with all these guys, Coleman's working out with the OL Masterminds group and Duke Manyweather down in Frisco, Texas, and essentially every offensive lineman the Chiefs have drafted with Brett Veach at the helm the past 3-4 seasons now has been guys that have worked down there. So there's just a connection, a familiarity with that training program, with what those guys are coming out. So he was one guy I started off with. Elijah Jones is a cornerback out of Boston College. Over 6 feet tall, over 31-inch arms, but he tested like a Tier 1 CBAT. And for those that don't have the KCSN draft guide, Craig Stout has come up with an athletic measuring formula that it's not predictive of what the Chiefs will do necessarily, but it's predictive of kind of how cornerbacks are going to perform in the NFL. If you are a Tier 1 CBAT player, you are more likely to excel in the NFL or in a starting role regardless of your draft position. The Chiefs have also kind of geared their drafting towards those guys. L'Jarius Sneed, Najee Johnson, both other guys that tested similarly to him. You also have Jalen Watson was very close to being a Tier 1. Joshua Williams, Trent McDuffie, Tier 2, which is the second best category. So they like these types of athletic corners. You want to find a guy like this on day 3 that fits that mold. And then finally, I went with Eric All, a tight end out of Iowa via Michigan. There's some injury concerns, but I think the big thing with him is the Chiefs were his only formal interview at the NFL Scouting Combine.
Wow.
And for a guy that has some medical issues, that kind of took me by surprise that more teams weren't trying to have a sit-down formal interview with him, but he had said they were his only formal interview, so I kind of just drew that one. That one's the least deep connection, but I still thought it was interesting given all the smoke around the Chiefs trying to add a new tight end.
Well, is it specific to position that you look at, though, and say, okay, these are the positions that maybe in the third day the Chiefs are going to be looking at? It's like we've all sort of identified tackle and wide receiver as major needs for this team that, first round, second round, third round, that Thursday, Friday night that they might address. But on into day 3, it's like running back, interior offensive line, interior defensive line, could go cornerback. They could double up on wide receiver. I don't know if I mentioned running back or not, but if I didn't, I'll do it again. Tight end. Like they can go a number of different directions in that third day on Saturday. So is it an element of you seek out the sleepers based on the positional group, or the sleepers sort of start to pop off the page for you in different things, and it's, regardless, and the position group is immaterial to you because it's sort of the traits and things that are that you see that sort of start to separate in your mind different players that might succeed where others are missing?
I generally start with kind of my evaluation of the players, and so I get my grade on them. I kind of settle it in to where I get finalized with it, and then maybe I start to poke around and see where other people have them. And if I start to see I'm a little bit higher on a player than somebody else is, okay, maybe that's noted in the back of my head. Is this potentially a guy that I can call a sleeper? And as I'm going through it, I'm writing down notes. Does this guy play like a Chief? Is he kind of a high fit in terms of how he plays for a Chief? If he's a cornerback, is he long? Is he physical? Does he tackle? If all those things are yes, that makes a lot of sense for what the Chiefs like at the cornerback position. So now we have a player that I like more than the consensus, and then he plays the position of cornerback or whatever position it is the way the Chiefs like it. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a high team fit of a player that fits the position or fits the way the Chiefs like to play. And then we finally round it out with, is this a position of need? And if so, is it one that the Chiefs are going to likely take early, like wide receiver? Or is it one that they probably can wait and see what happens a little bit later? And that's how we get to, a utility offensive lineman, a corner, a tight end, positions that I don't think they necessarily have to go out there and take a swing on at the beginning of the draft, but rather they can wait a little bit. But it really starts with the evaluation, and then do they play the game the same way the Chiefs do? And then what other connections can I make to Chiefs, previous draft picks?
One of the things that I've talked about with the Chiefs and the draft in general, we discussed it a little bit yesterday, but I feel like, when we talk about drafting and how good a team is at drafting, a lot of times we may just point to the GM and say, well, this GM just gets it, right? I mean, just so good at the draft and working the draft board and things like that and grabbing players, and you can look back and go, boy, they found this guy in the second day. They found this guy in the third round. They trade L'Jarius Sneed for some picks, and that was a fourth-round draft pick that they got. You know, you mentioned Jalen Watson and, you know, Joshua Williams and guys they get later on, and they're finding these different players that are outside of the first round. And so, you know, on one hand, you can say, like, well, Brett Veach really gets it or understands it, and there's certainly kudos that go along with that. But I also wonder how much, in your mind, Matt, is there sort of an ingrained advantage because of where the Chiefs are as an organization? And it's a credit, by the way, to Brett Veach and Andy Reid, et cetera, and the coaches they have acquired and they have assembled. Because a lot of times, you know, if you are a fractured organization and you're at the end of sort of figuring out what are we going to do, I think, you know, and I've never been in a war room, Matt, but I do wonder how much, you know, I've mentioned that, you know, you've got these four different things. You've got a general manager that wants job security long term. You've got a coach that wants to win now because he doesn't have the long-term job security. You got the positional coach that wants his guy because that can help him advance his career so he can get either a coordinator job or maybe a head coach. And then you got the scout that's identified this player and is scouting him and is presenting the reasons why you should take him because I got to prove my worth. And if you are an organization that is splintered on guys that have some not necessarily ulterior or nefarious, but sort of some personal reasons as to why they would want this particular player, I wonder how good those drafts end up being as opposed to Brett Veach is secure, Andy Reid is secure, Andy Heck ain't going anywhere. Joe Cullen was talked about with the Michigan job, but defensive line, he's good. Spags, you know, if he has a bad year or two, it's not going to be like nobody thinks he's a good coordinator, so he doesn't need that one guy and demand him. Dave Merritt, you know, he'll be a coordinator one day, so he doesn't have to get a certain cornerback to show his worth. Like, I wonder how much there's already, Matt, and an ingrained sort of an advantage for the Chiefs in going into the draft, or is that just Chiefs colored sunglasses and how I present it?
I think that GMs, coaching staffs, front offices that all have like a level of comfort with where they stand within the team with terms of the owner and everything around me, I definitely think that helps going into a draft because you are more willing to take a swing on a guy that maybe is a little bit more, you know, bigger bust potential but has a higher ceiling. Or you feel comfortable maybe hitting a couple singles and just getting guys that can go out there and play, and, you know, you're not going to get in trouble a year or two from now for not landing stars or building blocks for your team because you got guys that can go out there and just perform. And it's up to the GM, it's up to the team, the people making the decision which route they want to go. But if you have that kind of comfort and knowing that your job is not on the line, I think it allows you to go about it a little bit more loose, be a little bit, I don't want to say definitely not reckless, but it's still calculated, but you don't have to have the fear that if this goes poorly, you're going to get fired. You don't have to have a fear that if you don't make the best pick, something bad might happen. It allows you just to kind of shoot off from the hip, relying entirely on your board and not what other people are thinking. And then I think another big part of the draft, I can't remember where I heard this, but I heard it years ago. The top, 100 players drafted, 150 players drafted some years, they're all talented enough to be NFL players. Like, the NFL's good enough at finding athletes and guys with enough raw talent to play that all these guys are talented enough to play in the NFL. Mm-hmm. It's a matter about getting them to the right place that has the right coaching staff to not only teach them how to play, but also focus them mentally and build them their character and off-field personalities. There's really no wrong in terms of talent picks that can happen in the first 100, 150 picks. It's all about team fit. So when we talk about teams that are good at drafting, I don't know if it's necessarily they're better at just evaluating talent, but I think there's a trust. There's a connection between the front office and the coaching staff to where they work together. They find the guys that are going to fit in their building the way that they want their team to run, and they make it work. It's that kind of cohesion from coaching staff, and that's position coaches, head coach, coordinators, up to the front office, up to the people that are playing with the cap, that are controlling the money flow, up to the owner who's signing off on everything. When everything works in unison, you find guys that fit better. And so now, even though two teams are taking the same level of talented player, you're getting a team that is better, getting a better fit for their organization. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest difference when you talk about good or bad drafting teams.
Yeah, and draft for traits and develop them. And the Chiefs do a really good job of that. Visiting with Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com. What do you make of, and do you draw any
greater sort of themes from the Chiefs' top 30 visits when they have players in. In your mind, is this medical? Is it character evaluation? Is it getting to know a player if they are not drafted and now you're in the undrafted free agent, priority free agent chase to try to get a player to sign with you over another team, but you've got that relationship there? How do you view the top 30 visits that the Chiefs specifically have? And does it tell you anything about a preview of what they may be doing come draft day?
So I think top 30 visits can be used for anything. It can be to get a second look on a guy that, maybe you met with informally or formally at the combine, or you liked him and you just want to bring him in to get him talk to more coaches, to let him meet everybody in the building, see if everybody's ready to sign off on him, see what you think the fit is. Maybe you really liked him the first time you talked to him, whether it was at an all-star game or at the combine. You quizzed him on some whiteboard stuff, and now you want him to come back in and see what he retained, over all this time. It could be something as simple as that, which is kind of football-related. It could be entirely a medical check, right? You could have them coming in just to see where they're at with their medicals, whether there's an injury or not. It could be character, just to flush out, hey, we found out that back in high school X, Y, and Z happened. What about that? What do you think about it? Or I saw that the Chargers brought in two former Michigan players on the same day. I don't think Jim Harbaugh probably needs to have a whole lot of meetings, top 30 visits with his guys that he just coached last year over the past 4 seasons. Maybe you just want to bring a guy out to hang out for a little bit because it's paid for.
That was just to go get beers with him.
Great. These meetings could be for absolutely anything. So I don't think you look too much into it. But that said, I'm not going to look too much into it and look at the Chiefs' top 30 visits. There's not a lot of guys that they brought in the top 30s that are kind of projected to be round 1 picks or even like early round 2 picks. Mm-hmm. You look in years past, the Chiefs kind of have done their work on guys that they might think are falling to them, and they want to get that medical check or that character concern. They want to get in and get to know them. They didn't really do that this year. There's Kingsley Sumatea is an offensive tackle out of BYU. He's probably the highest rated guy on consensus boards that they brought in, but he's not a first round lock. After that, it's Marshawn Kneeland, an edge player out of Western Michigan. But that's it. That's kind of the only 2 guys that you're thinking are going to be top 50 picks that they've even looked at with these top 30 visits. That's a little abnormal for them. So it just makes you wonder, do they either A, feel really good about who they're taking, or are they trying to keep their cards close to the vest because they are just trying to trade up, trade back? What's the movement going to be? Because in years past, they've had a wider net of players projected to go around their pick in the first round that they've looked at. This year, it's been it's almost nobody in the first round, which is a little odd.
So many of those top 30 visits are projected to be day 3 guys, and so I'm with you. And I wonder too, looking at the number of players at specific positions, because they've now brought in 3 different running backs. So you've got Jonathan Brooks, that's projected to be a day 2 guy, one of the top running backs in the entire draft. They're visiting with him. Rasheen Ali, they brought in from Marshall. He's going to be a day 3 draft, and Carson Steele may not get drafted at all. So there are 3 different levels of, a running back that they bring in. Now, how much is medical? How much is character? How much is all of those things? Or how much is it, hey, we might be drafting in the second round, and if this guy's here, we might be looking running back in the second round at pick number 64, or if we trade back or whatever it might be. Okay, if we haven't got a running back yet, and we're sitting there in the 5th or 6th round, and Ali's still on the board, well, this is the guy we know. Hey, we didn't draft a running back at all, and we got to fill that spot. Okay, Carson Steele, we brought him in from UCLA. What did we like about him or not like about him? Maybe it was a deciding factor between a couple 3 guys that you're looking at, and you feel good about the other 2, but you're just unknown about this guy. You bring him in, okay, we know more, and we're not going to bring him in. I always wonder how much the specific positional group, because tackle and running back now are the 3 most the largest amount of players that they have brought in for top 30 visits.
Yeah, and so with the running backs, the thing that I took away from that is Brooks and Ali seem like they're probably, if I were to guess, medical things. Brooks is coming off the torn ACL. Yeah. We haven't heard anything poor about the medical check at the combine. He's actually been climbing up people's rankings and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if he got passed well, but the Chiefs still want to bring him in, get their eyes on him too. And then Rasheen Ali tore his bicep at the Senior Bowl. So it's another guy that you assume got a pass at the combine, but maybe they just want to get some more eyes on them. So maybe for the running back position, they just want to make sure these 2 guys that they maybe like, maybe don't, but if they're there at the right round where they think the value's good, they want to make sure they have, them passed on their medicals for sure. And then Carson Steele's a little bit more flirting with undrafted free agency. So I think you had mentioned it earlier. that could be a little bit of recruiting. Like, hey, if you don't get drafted, you come here, check out our facility, see what we can do for you. Now we can start that sales pitch early. So when we get on the phone to start round 6 or round 7, whenever we start making these calls, you have this connection with us. Like that's what I see with the running back. It doesn't mean they won't take one of those guys or they won't take somebody else early, but like I do think 2 of the 3 being injury guys kind of stood out to me, and the other one being a little bit more of a UDFA person. The tackle one is the one I find interesting. They have met with guys like Patrick Paul or Talise Fuaga at the combine. Those are, top 50, not top 50, top 75 picks. Wog is probably going to go before they pick in the first round, but they've looked at some tackles that are going to go early. But then you look at their top 30 visits, it's all kind of developmental guys from smaller schools that you probably want to put through your own personal workouts, guys that weren't at the combine that you want to see move and go through Andy Heck's workout drills and stuff like that. So that's just I don't want to say a lot of investment, but they've had a lot of day 3 developmental tackles come through on these top 30 visits, versus only a couple guys. Only one guy has come to the facility that's kind of projected to be drafted early on, and that's Sumatea. So it's an interesting mix of guys that they've brought in this year.
Visiting with Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KCSN.Substack.com. Matt, don't judge me on this. I would appreciate if you don't, but is it weird that I've watched maybe like 15 minutes in a row just the Hollywood Brown sort of different angled seam route that they put out there, just watched it over and over again for 15 minutes? Is that weird of me to do, or is that just natural? Again, don't judge me on that.
I don't think it's weird at all. I think it's pretty natural at this point right now. I'm with you. And they do all these clips that are making out. It's like really, it's nice to watch everybody do it. And like Rashee Rice got back down there with them, and he posted a couple videos working down there with Pat and all these other receivers in Texas, and it looks good. But when you watch Hollywood Brown run it, especially when it's not the edited up ones that he posts on Instagram, which hey, they look cool, but like the ones that somebody else posts out that records of him, you can tell he's moving at a different speed. He's one of those guys that's just moving at a different speed than everyone else. And like McCole Hardman's always been fast. Kadarius Toney, when he stops, it pops to you. But like his overall speed, I don't think ever jumps off the screen when he's down there running these routes. McCole Hardman, super fast player, but I don't think his speed ever doesn't really pop the last few years since he suffered a couple injuries. I'm watching Hollywood Brown. It's shorts and T-shirt. It doesn't matter, but I'm watching him run through some of these routes, and it looks different than the other guys that are down there, and that's nice to see. That's kind of an element that I think we've all thought the Chiefs have been missing since Tyreek Hill left, so it's nice to see that kind of speed element and dynamic ability maybe be coming back to the offense.
Yeah, it's I know it, like you said, shorts and a hoodie or a T-shirt or whatever, but watching the pace and speed while going through the route and the slight little angles that you're taking to, press the linebacker, press the safety before you're cutting, and there's no break in speed or pace on that at all. And then he Matt, he caught the ball at the end. That was pretty cool. That was pretty neat that the ball went right into his hands and he caught it. But
here's the thing: the team that won the Super Bowl last year didn't do that well. So I don't know if that actually matters anymore.
You know what? Copycat league. You should have more receivers that drop the football. That's how the Chiefs did that. It's just smart. That's what it is. Matt Lane is our guest. All right, Matt, before we let you go, if you are predicting now, it's a week away, what position do the Chiefs select on Thursday night?
Ooh, man, this is so hard for me right now. I don't think the draft board is going to fall great for them to go with like wide receiver or offensive tackle. And I think those are the two positions that the majority of Chiefs fans really want them to get. But I think if we're talking just pure value, I think they might be better waiting on those a little bit later, so that way they're not kind of taking the top of the next year down kind of situation. So I'm not sure where they go right now. I'm very up in the air. If I were to guess right now, I am going to go with I'm going to go with corner for now, but I reserve the right to change that. It's a little far out right now. I just think there might be a corner that falls down a little bit, and this might be a Trent McDuffie situation where they go, I don't think this guy was ever supposed to be here, but now he's here at pick 32. We kind of have to pull the trigger, and I think we can figure out the offensive side of the ball a little bit later.
As long as they just trade ahead of the Bills and take the person the Bills wanted, I'm good with that. I'm just whoever they end up getting. Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, the KC Laboratory Podcast, KCSN.Substack.com. Go and check out the article that he put out this morning with the sleepers and the connections that are there. Some guys that you may need to know for next Saturday in that day 3 to get to know as, rookie minicamp will be taking place on May 4th and, that weekend right after the draft is over. Matt, you're the man. Really appreciate the time, sir. Enjoy the draft and certainly love all the coverage and everything else. So thank you for the time today, man.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me on. Go Chiefs. You got one more week until we're ready to go.
Yes, sir. Next week, we'll be discussing a lot of the Dylan. He didn't want to talk to you, so sorry about that. I know that you were excited to have a longer conversation with Matt. I took all his time, Dylan. I apologize. I was supposed to go till 11:20 with Matt, and then Dylan and Matt would discuss for 7 minutes.
He wanted to clear the lines for Sports or Leisure. He wanted to make sure that
Already.
they were ready to go. Already, he's excited.
That's so smart.
He's
generous man.
He's very excited.
He's a man of the people, is what he is. You know.
I kind of like the quarterback or the cornerback thought process because I've had a similar one as well.
Oh, that's why you like it? I like it because this guy seems really smart.
No, but I've been thinking the same thing. And maybe not even in the first, maybe it's in the second as well. But I do think a first or second round corner is going to surprise a lot of people, and I don't think it should. With the loss of L'Jarius Sneed, where do the Chiefs view Trent McDuffie? Is he he's a first-team All-Pro slot corner,
right?
But he's a little smaller. Is he an outside corner? I love Josh Williams probably more than the next guy, but do you trust him every single down being out there? I like Jalen Watson, but he did have a little bit of a down year last year. And again, I think the Chiefs are still solid overall in the secondary. I'm not necessarily worried, but an injection of talent, especially if it's a first-round corner who falls. Now, I'm not trying to be a homer here, so I apologize for K-State and KU fans here. But if Ennis Rakestraw, who I think a lot of people have going in the top 20, if you were there at 32, would you be surprised if the Chiefs were to take him?
No, I wouldn't. And I think what Matt's his logic is sound in that if the board does not fall in the favor of the Chiefs to where tackles and wide receivers, and now you feel like, dude, we're forcing it. You know, we're reaching at this point to take one of these guys, and we're just not going to do that. We spent all this time coming up with our draft board. We spent all this time assessing these prospects, and now are we going to take somebody that's, number 45 on our board at number 32 because we need a wide receiver? Well, guess what? We've been watching, on a loop, that clip from Holmes to Hollywood Brown. We went and got a wide receiver, right? I mean, Rashee Rice is, going to face some sort of a legal ramification and professional ramification from the expected suspension from the NFL. So, you got to deal with that. But there's a reason why you go and get some wide receivers. And guess what? They can go and get another veteran, after the draft is over. So, and Donovan Smith is out there, so they can go and grab him. If you didn't hear, J.K. Dobbins signed with the Chargers yesterday. So the whole running back, and maybe they bring in Dobbins. That's not happening. But they are talking to running backs in top 30 visits. And I think a running back, Adam Teicher said on Tuesday, he said, I'd be shocked if they didn't take a running back at some point in this draft. He absolutely believes there will be a running back selected with one of these picks. But if the first round is not falling the way that you would hope with tackle and wide receiver and things like that, and there's not somebody there that you feel like is worthy of the number 32 pick, you don't just reach because, hey, you really need that guy. And if cornerback's sitting there, I mean, we didn't think they were going cornerback in the first round. No. We thought they were trading up for a defensive end. Like, oh, my God, they're trading up for – and I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember the dude from Florida State's name that everybody thought they were trading up to get. That's how –
Great point.
That's how, like, in the moment everybody was. And it was like, and the Chiefs select Trent McDuffie, cornerback, Washington. Huh? Who? We didn't even talk about that guy. All right, let me go to my who's Trent McDuffie? I got to talk intelligently about him tomorrow.
I either love this or I hate this.
Let me tell you what everybody else thinks about Trent McDuffie. Let me tell you what Nate Tice thinks. Let me go to my KC Sports Network draft guide and tell you about Trent McDuffie. They've done all the work and the research on it, and that's because it fell in a way that they didn't expect.
Sure.
So the logic is sound that, hey, they're going to take a tackle, they're going to take a wide receiver. I do believe if the board falls in the way that they would like it to fall, and one of those positions is available, all things being equal, 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other, then, wide receiver or tackle would be the route to go. But if those guys are gone, and it's like, we're not taking the number 45 prospect at number 32, and we can't trade back, well, then we'll take somebody that we feel is the best. Okay, that's a cornerback here.
That's always the caveat. We cannot trade back.
Yeah,
I know. I think the majority of fans, myself, I think the majority of people want the Chiefs to, but it's just not as simple.
I'm a trade back guy.
Was it Peter Schrager who had the Chiefs taking Jalen Polk at 32?
Yeah.
Now, Peter Schrager's a very smart guy. He's nailed his Super Bowl predictions. He's been fairly good overall as far as draft predictions as well. But that, to me, would be beyond a reach. If you're taking Jalen Polk at 32, I'm sitting here going, why not wait for a wide receiver later on, second rounder, and get the best available in the first?
Yeah.
I don't think you can really go wrong with best available.
Yeah, I'm with you. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We are hanging out at Casey Cannabis today, one of the 4 locations that they have. We're located in Blue Springs today. They've got the drive-thru here at Blue Springs, but it's off I-70, 7 Highway. Can't miss it. Casey Cannabis, and today they've got buy one, get one, 40% off on all edibles. That's going on at all 4 locations, not just the one that we are at today. They've got specials tomorrow, happy hour all day. They got the celebration coming up on Saturday, food trucks, vendors, giveaways, all locations. Today, though, at this location in Blue Springs, we are giving away a Bobby Witt KC Connect jersey. So you come in, somebody over the next, 2.5 hours is going to win this Bobby Witt jersey. You got to be here and fill out the registration form, all of that stuff, and we'll draw before the show is over. And if your name is drawn and Sterling likes you, then we will call you and tell you you won. If your name is drawn and Sterling doesn't like you, we will draw again. So if you didn't win, one of 2 things happen. Your name wasn't drawn, or you've got a bone to pick with Sterling. Just saying.
It's true.
That's
a
fact.
It's a fact, not fiction. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's how we do it around here. We just draw randomly until we get somebody we like. Dylan Michaels. Dylan Michaels won the KC Connect jersey. How about
fiction? That's fiction,
that would
Jason.
absolutely be fiction. Everett Anderson won the KC Connect. What are the odds, man? He can't even wear it. I guess his dad will wear it until he's big enough to wear it.
I want to keep my job, so that's a fact. That's a fact.
We will. We'll take a timeout. We're hanging out here at KC Cannabis, Blue Springs location, locally owned, locally operated. All people from Kansas City that run these KC Cannabis stores, all 4 of the locations, and a 5th one coming up north this summer near Zona Rosa, right next to Initub. Which now I want some Initub. So there's that. We'll take a timeout. Come back. More Zone next.
A winner.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We're hanging out at Casey Cannabis Blue Springs location. They got the drive-through just off I-77 Highway, our location. They have 4 locations in the area, also one in Lake Lotawana, Kearney, and Excelsior Springs. They've got a 5th one coming up north, and it is all locally owned, locally operated, people from Kansas City, rooted in the community. It is Kansas City Cannabis, and buy one, get one, 40% off on all edibles today. Not just this location, but all 4 of the locations. They've got that going on tomorrow. Happy hour all day. Double loyalty points all day long as well. And Saturday, they've got the buy one, get one, 40% off within the categories of flower and edibles and concentrates. All 4 locations. They've got food trucks, vendors, giveaways. All 4 locations yet again. And the first 100 customers at Blue Springs location, where we are today, get a KC Cannabis stash bag and a KC Cannabis T-shirt. That is, again, the Blue Springs specific location where we are today. That also is the location with the drive-through. You can order ahead and don't even have to get out of your car and stop by. And if you've never been to a dispensary before, you come in and they will help you out with all the different questions you may have and things like that. It is Casey Cannabis where we are located today. 913-912-4810. We'll talk with Matt Verderam coming up in the noon hour. We got sports or leisure at 1 o'clock.
I will say this is actually very cool. For a guy whose only dispensary visit was one in Colorado a long time ago, we've come a long way from trying to have your buddy hey, how much is that? 20? Like, but seriously, like they have they actually have like uplifting ones. They have calm and relax. Like, what do you want to do? They have all these different styles, flavors. I love they kept the names of when you were like growing up too. Just all the names. Caps, Frozen Lemons, Cheetah's Kiss, Bozo Shoes. I love these. Banana Conda.
I wonder what the hibernate does. Does that give you a pep in your step? Like, yeah, let's go, hibernate.
This is called Deaf. You know, the whole Cat Williams bit, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just perplexed, man. I mean, I am like a squirrel a little bit where I see all these lights and things. I'm like, this is sweet, though.
Yeah.
This is cool.
It's KC Cannabis, our location today in Blue Springs. You don't even have to come in the store. They got the drive-through as well. But if you want to win the Bobby Witt KC Connect jersey that we are giving away, you do have to come in the store and get you registered, and we will be giving that away before 2 o'clock. So at the end of the show, we'll do the drawing, and somebody will win today. Somebody that stops into KC Cannabis Blue Springs location today while we are on the air will win this jersey. You can also have some cool goodies and giveaways, the Sports Radio 810 koozies, and this little thing that is like a Frisbee or something else. I don't know what it is, like a placemat. I don't think anybody actually knows what that is that we have.
Try throwing it. Let me see.
But it is sort of like a Frisbee.
Not
there.
Really very well,
It folds up and goes into that little pouch right there. But, I don't know what it is used for, but we've got it. That's what I'm saying.
The pouch destroys the aerodynamic ability of it, though. When you try to throw it, it's like a weighted Frisbee, which
right there, right in that little pouch. 913-912-4810 is the text line, 913-912-4810. We will talk with Matt Verderam coming up at noon. Text comes in. Jermaine Johnson, that's what it was. Thank you. Jermaine Johnson was the guy that people thought the Chiefs were trading up to get. He's been, he's been a good player. I like McDuffie, and who knows how the AFC would be different if the Chiefs traded up for Jermaine Johnson and then the Bills got Trent McDuffie. I mean, the Chiefs ain't trading L'Jarius Sneed right now, probably not, right? I mean, if your starting cornerbacks are Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson, or we be talking about who are the specific corners in this draft that they've got to go and get, because they traded Charvarius Ward, but they had L'Jarius Sneed ready to step in. They traded L'Jarius Sneed because they've got Trent McDuffie ready to step in. But that's just part of the whole draft process. Like, you don't know really until that name is called, because, again, going back to 2017, thank God that when they traded up, somebody was like, they're going to get Deshaun Watson. They're going to get Deshaun Watson in 2017. Oh, thank goodness they didn't go up to get Deshaun Watson. They went and got Patrick Mahomes.
I was there, by the way. I lived in Philly at the time. I was at the draft, so I was there.
Were you wearing a Clemson Deshaun Watson jersey?
I was not, but I was wearing sandals. The reason why I remember I was wearing sandals was the Chiefs were drafting later on in the draft. I did not know they were going to trade up. This was right by my house. I could walk to it, right? Like I walked from my brownstone there, and I was like, okay, it's close. I'll go. I'm walking there. I'm there for a while. Okay, I'm heading back. I'm leaving around pick 10, right? All of a sudden, I hear Chiefs trade up. I'm nearly back to my house, but I could still hear everything happening, so I'm sprinting back in sandals. No regard for my feet. There could have been glass. Didn't matter. It's Philly. There probably was glass. And all of a sudden, I go, they're drafting a quarterback. It's Deshaun. And then it was Mahomes.
Did you want Deshaun?
At the time, I did.
Okay.
Full transparency, at the time I did. And they drafted Mahomes, and I did not care at all about Deshaun Watson, because I go, the Chiefs finally drafted a first-round quarterback. I don't care who it was. I am going to be excited. It was such a great night.
I was grateful for Twitter that night because even if I'm wrong about everything else, which, may be the case, who knows. But luckily, I had a buddy at the time that when the Chiefs traded up, sent me a tweet and said, Deshaun Watson, and I replied with Mahomes and the praying emoji. So even if I'm wrong about everything else from now on, thankfully for Twitter, because you could say, well, I wanted Mahomes. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. But do you have, documentation
check
of
the
that?
Receipts, guy.
Right, check the receipts. But, hey, thank goodness that buddy tweeted me. It was like, hey, do you want Deshaun Watson? No, I want Mahomes. I want Patrick Mahomes. And it was interesting. Pat Forty, who covers college football, we would have him on weekly to talk, oddly enough, college football. And he's a big Denver Broncos fan. And Patrick Mahomes was a sophomore at Texas Tech. And I asked him, and I brought this up to him after the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes, because, again, being a Broncos fan, and maybe right after Mahomes threw that left-handed pass in his second year back in 2018 when that happened in Monday night. But I asked him, I said, out of all the quarterbacks that are in the draft and in college, who are you starting your team with? And he goes, I'm starting with the Texas Tech quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. This guy is different. He's special. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes. He's not draft eligible yet, but you'll know him in a couple of years. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I started paying more attention to Patrick Mahomes because of Pat Forty. And now a Broncos fan has to watch this guy twice a year in his division beat up on his Broncos as the guy that he would start his team with. And by the way, that was the year that the Broncos traded up to get Paxton Lynch.
Ooh,
because that was Mahomes' sophomore year.
Well, he was tall.
Yeah,
and
they
John Elway saw tall.
But thankfully, they traded ahead of the Chiefs to get Paxton Lynch. I mean, we're talking about Jermaine Johnson and Trent McDuffie, like how different life would be if the Chiefs were able to take Paxton Lynch in 2016 instead of the Broncos trading up and getting him.
I think the Chiefs would have still drafted Mahomes.
I don't know. You draft back-to-back, you would have.
Yes, you saw Paxton Lynch 1 year and go, we're good. We know it. We're fine.
Might have been, but he would have played. He would have played behind Alex Smith, and now it's Paxton Lynch time, the beginning of the 2017 season, and Patrick Mahomes would be, I don't know, he'd be in New Orleans, or he'd be in Arizona, or he'd be in Houston. One of the teams that really wanted Patrick Mahomes that were drafting after the Bills that had coaches that knew quarterbacks that wanted Patrick Mahomes. But, yeah, Jermaine Johnson was the quarterback, or was the defensive end that people thought they were trading up for. I thought they were trading up for him. I wanted Jermaine Johnson, and they traded up for, but I'm pretty freaking stoked that they ended up getting Trent McDuffie. I wanted Jermaine Johnson. I like George Karlaftis too, but when they traded up, I'm like, all right, and then we'll see who they come back and get with that second pick, maybe a wide receiver or whatever, because, they don't have Tyreek Hill. Another text came in, and we were talking about Ben Sinnott, or tweet said, would be great if the Chiefs draft Ben Sinnott, but the draft is unpredictable. Can't always get the player you want. Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I just said Patrick Mahomes. No. And that's a tweet because earlier in the show I said that I have slowly evolved and grown into somebody that would really like to see Ben Sinnott drafted by the Chiefs, to now I feel like, especially with one more week to go, that I'm actually going to be disappointed if he's not drafted by the Chiefs. And that's a little bit of a difference. And you shouldn't be in a position to be disappointed if the Chiefs don't draft a specific player. It's not smart. But I'm never claimed to be somebody that approaches things from a logical standpoint. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, wrapping up this hour, we will talk with Matt Verderam coming up on the other side of the break. We'll get his thoughts on the Chiefs, the draft coming up a week from now, the oddity that the Commanders have done with their top 30 visits. I don't know if people saw this or not, but the Commanders have invited like 16 prospects to their facilities, and all 4 quarterbacks they're thinking of drafting, and they all went to like Topgolf last night and just hung out. Like, that's their top 30 visits, or just like, hey, let's just go and kick it, guys, and see if one of you guys.
Cheese, baby.
Yeah,
Who's
that's
more
right.
competitive?
Fight to the death. If you were to take that golf club and break that quarterback's arm, you might be more likely to get drafted now. How smart are you? That's being a leader.
I'm going to DMB, Dave and Buster's.
There you go. That works too. So we'll talk with Matt Verderam about some of those things coming up on the other side of the break. More Zone from Casey Cannabis Blue Springs location next. It's all locally owned, locally operated, rooted in community. It's Kansas City Cannabis, and one of the 4 locations we are at today in Blue Springs, right off I-70, 7 Highway. They've also got a location in Lake Lotawana, Kearney, Excelsior Springs, and the new one coming up north near Zona Rosa, right next to the Initub, is where the newest location this summer for KC Cannabis will be going on. Stop by today and register to win a Bobby Witt KC Connect jersey. But you got to be here today. We're going to be giving that away, do the drawing before 2 o'clock while we are here. We're talking some football today. We talked some baseball. Now let's continue talking some football. Matt Verderam is our guest. Does a great job at Sports Illustrated and the Matt Verderam Show as well, joining us here in the zone. Matt, what's up, brother? How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I'm looking forward to this next week. I'm looking forward to the draft and cannot wait. And I'm probably, I don't know, can you consume too many mock drafts and do too many of the mock draft simulators in the next week before the draft gets here?
Oh, yeah, you can definitely do too many.
Okay.
I've done 1 mock draft for SI. And, I did 2. One was an all trade where I basically just mock drafts.
Yeah.
And then did my actual one that went out this morning. And I mock draft out. Like, I know there are some people that just absolutely live for these things. And I think they're fun in theory. But after you've gotten some guy on your Twitter feed who's like, here's my 48th mock draft. Like, you know what? I'm good. You've hit every single combination. So, they're fun, but I am ready for the draft to actually happen.
This is only my 4th. Now it's 4.8, and I've done 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, but it's only the 4th, Matt, that we've done is what you're talking about.
You and the rest of Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love mocking the mocks with the all trades, trade deals for all 32 teams, which is just would be fantastic. It would be crazy if that were to happen. Matt Verderam is our guest. I want to talk some NFL stuff around the league before we maybe get a little bit of the Chiefs conversation. I've talked about the last week or so and just sort of trying to figure out different people's opinion on top 30 visits, specifically for the Chiefs, how they've used it in the past and, how they'll, using it this year and different positional groups that may be more populated than others in having these top 30 visits. I don't know that I've seen anything like the Commanders in bringing in 4 quarterbacks and another 12 other prospects to have a night out with guys to go to Topgolf and I don't know what you're gleaning from that and what you're getting from that other than we got to fill these visits anyway, so let's just have some fun. Does a battle royale break out? Does somebody become the leader? You got alpha males that are trying to beat the other alpha male out and be the leader. I don't know what you accomplish, but I'm fascinated by the fact that they've got all these guys together at once on a top 30 visit.
I actually really like it. I think it's really interesting. If I was Adam Peters, the GM there now, I would be looking at how competitive are you. Can you get along with, especially if you're the quarterback? Are you getting along with everybody? You're kind of a loner. Who's the drunkest person there? Who's the guy who just had 8 vodka cranberries in an hour? I want to know who that guy is so I don't draft him. I want to see those guys in a dynamic. I think, too, you just get people more loosened up in that dynamic than you do just one-on-one, and it's you, and it's all the coaches, and it's GM. I actually think it's interesting. It's basically like the Commanders got together and said, let's just do a bachelor-style, draft visit. It's interesting. Yes. It's different. It's nothing else. It's different. And with the way they've been for 25 years, different might not be the worst way to go.
But that's such a great comparison and analogy because it's the first night of the Bachelor or Bachelorette. So you're going to have somebody that gets a little too intoxicated. You got the person that's causing issues. You get the first impression rose that happens that night. So maybe that's who they're thinking of drafting now, the person they really like more. That's a great point. You can sort of weed out some things as the intoxicated person, the person that's trying to push people around, and maybe the cliques and the leaders that start developing. I love that analogy of the first night of The Bachelor that they've created with this top 30 visit. Now every team should do it, and we need video of road to the NFL, path to the NFL. Hey, rookie on NFL Network with these top 30 visits like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that it would be interesting, right? Like, wouldn't you like to see all four of these quarterback prospects playing top golf, and like one of them can't hit the ball at all, and the other guy is driving like he's Tiger? And you just see like what the dynamic, like, are they cool with that? Is the one guy like breaking his club because he's pissed? No, like I said, sometimes different is good. Different can be interesting, and I actually do think in some ways, if you're Washington, like you're getting a look at who these guys are. Who's to your point, who's leading the pack a little bit? Who's maybe kind of distancing themselves? Who's the guy who is responsible, and who's the other guy who has to be carried out of there because he couldn't stop drinking Tito's? Like that all factors in. I want to know who that guy is. Is that guy like? Is he an angry drunk? Is he hilarious when he's like? I need to know.
Yeah. Can he get along with the group? Yeah. Is he a chameleon? Can he find himself fitting in? Yeah.
Can I trust him at the club, or do I need to keep my phone on at all times of the night? Because if this guy has 3 Moscow Mules, like I'm getting a phone call.
That's right.
All these things are valuable pieces of information.
Yeah, I love that. And maybe in an odd way, you should try not to be good at so you can be competitive, but don't be good, because if you're too good at the golf, now the team thinks, okay, well, his priorities are split. I mean, to be that good at golf, you're spending a lot of time playing golf. Mark him off. No way, his golf game's too good. He's out. This guy sucks at golf. You know what? C.J. Stroud, throw a baseball. He can't throw a baseball. That guy loves football. That guy throws a baseball like a football. He's my quarterback, damn it.
I love that in the NFL, everything that you do is viewed as a positive or a negative, whereas like in reality, 90% of this stuff has absolutely no bearing on whether you play the game.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, you think about, so I had a guy years ago. Actually, he wasn't a Chief at the time; he's Chief now, so it ties in. Joe Tooney did the Wonderlic test, that the old school Wonderlic test, when he was coming out of the draft, and his agent told him, "Don't do as well as you can on it, because if you do as well as you can, you're probably going to score near perfect, based on our research. And if you do that, teams are going to think you're too smart and that you're not committed enough to football, and they're not going to pick you. So, do well, but don't do too well." So Joe Tooney, just did, a decent job on it by his standards, and ended up, I think, going in the 3rd round to New England, but was literally told going into the draft, hey, listen, don't be too smart, because that might be a problem. But also don't be a moron, because that's also a problem. Just be a guy. Just be Joe Blow. I got an 82, and everything's good.
Well, I think he took that literally with interviews now and press conferences of don't give anything away. Just you're here for the team. It's all about winning. I'm trying to do my job, and everybody's doing their job, and I just want to win games. So he's definitely taken that and ran with it. I remember Chris Connolly for the Chiefs coming out of Georgia. It was a negative that he enjoyed, making movies and filmmaking in his spare time at Georgia. It's like, well, is this guy really committed to football? Because when he's away from the facilities, is he going to be a director someday? Is he going to quit football because he has other interests than football? Like, that's a negative at the time. And at the time, I'm like, that seems so dumb and so absurd that would be viewed as a negative. But then you see what the commitment may take for you to be the best at your craft, for them to know that this particular draft pick works out. I understand why teams may, shy away from things like that, but also there's nothing wrong with being a well-rounded individual that has other interests in life, but you can also really work your butt off and be a great player while having other interests too. So,
I mean,
maybe not golf. Maybe not being great at golf. I don't know that you can be great at golf and also be good at other sports too. I don't know.
Well, I think when you look around the league and you look at Patrick Mahomes, the guy could probably play professional baseball, and it's worked out okay. On the flip side,
just natural.
I mean, Alan Page, for people who don't know who he is, the Hall of Fame defensive tackle for the Vikings, who's so great he won MVP in 1971. He ended up becoming a justice on the, I believe, on the Minnesota Supreme Court. So, it worked out for him. But then there are other guys who will literally tell you, like, I have no idea what I would have done with my life if I wasn't a defensive end. Like, it's just, hey, again, can you play football? Can you get are you focused? Are you driven? Do you care about your craft? I mean, hey, take on all comers in professional sports. There are guys who are sitting on that plane on a road trip who are studying for the bar exam. There are guys on that road trip who all they care about is whether they can hit 2 pair on the river. Like, and as long as you show up on Sunday, that's fine.
Yep, yeah. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to nursing school while he's playing
Yeah.
football. I mean,
LDT.
Mike Caliendo's,
Right.
Mike Caliendo. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great one. He was a damn doctor while he was playing football. Caliendo is doing the same thing, studying to be a doctor while playing football. So, there's a lot of things. So yeah. Matt Verderam is our guest. I wanted to ask you about Bill Belichick and the story that came out about the process of hiring the coaches and him and the 7 openings, and he thought he was going to be the Falcons head coach, and maybe Robert Kraft had guided Arthur Blank away from hiring Bill Belichick. Belichick thought he was getting the job. Turns out he wasn't even in the top 3. All of the openings, at least I guess considered Bill Belichick, including the Eagles as well, that maybe thought about, okay, do we bring in Bill Belichick, who's available right now? Is he going to coach again in the NFL if 7 teams passed on him and there's these issues of how difficult he may be to work with, but he's very set in his ways? He told the Falcons, look, I'm willing to work with the GM. I don't have to have total control, right? Is he a guy that next year, this time, he'll have a head coaching job?
I think he will. I think what's going to happen, and what didn't happen this offseason, is there's going to be a team that, I don't want to say it's ready-made to win a championship, but, like, you feel like if they get Belichick, they're in the inside circle. They got a real shot. And I think that he's going to go there and give them, like, 3 years. I think that's going to happen. I know people are like, well, Belichick's 72 years old. What else does Belichick want to do? Right? Like, this kind of goes to the conversation we just had. It's not like Bill Belichick's sitting there going, you know what I really want to do? Just sit down and eat donuts. Like, that's not who the guy is. He's not somebody who's – I know he's going to do a little TV work, but come on. Like, Bill Belichick is not going to be doing stand-up with, late-night TV hosts. Like, he's a football coach through and through. That's who he is. I mean, his boat is named 6 Rings. Like, that's what the guy cares about. So I have a hard time seeing him just walking away if he can get a job. And when you look at the league, if Sirianni doesn't have a bounce-back year, he's probably gone. I wonder with the Cowboys, is there a world, if they start out poorly this year, that they fire Mike McCarthy and they go Belichick up and like, what do you want now? I mean, I don't think that would happen. You don't normally see a coach get fired and somebody get hired during the season. I would bet heavily that wouldn't happen. But I got to tell you, it'd be really entertaining. But I think there is a real chance that if McCarthy, let's say, doesn't get past the wild card round, I think there's a chance he gets fired and they hire Belichick. I'll give you another team. But this would be really interesting. What if the Bills have another year where they can't get past the divisional round? They fire McDermott. I mean, if you're Belichick, is there any place you'd rather go to stick it to New England than Buffalo? I mean, so there's a lot of places that I look at and go, if some of these contending teams, if they don't level up, so to speak, there could be a job opening. And if there is, if you're one of those types of teams that you feel like you're on the doorstep, you wouldn't hire that guy for 3 years, 4 years. Of course you would. So, I think he'll get another job.
Matt Verderam's our guest from Sports Illustrated, the Matt Verderam Show as well. You're doing these mock drafts, and certainly, as we cover the Chiefs, and you've covered the Chiefs for a long time, and we see as they get to pick number 32, are you, when you look at it, is it a feel of it's going to be tackle, wide receiver, and that's specifically sort of how you'll look at the prospects and who you'll select or whatever, or is it these are the best players that I view, and this tackle would be too early at 32, this wide receiver would be too early at 32? How much do you maybe think or a trade-up could be possible for one of these receivers if they're there in the 20s, or a tackle if he's there in the 20s? Is it more positional group specific that you start with when you see the Chiefs and think about different fits for them?
All right, so there's a lot to unpack with this. I'll try to do it as quick as I can. If they are sitting at 32 and they feel like, hey, all right, there's a handful of tackles, there's a handful of receivers that are reasonable to take here, but none of them stand out over the other ones, they're in the best spot in the world to trade back because they have the last pick with a fifth-year option. And if a guy like Michael Penix or Bo Nix is there and some team wants him, the Chiefs might be able to get well above the numerical value for that pick based on the fifth-year option. So that's one thing to consider. However, I think based on Brett Veach's history, they're more likely to trade up than to trade down. I don't know that they're going to move into the top 10 like some people think. I think that is really rich unless you really believe you're getting an all-pro level player. Because if you think you're just getting a Pro Bowl, you can't do it. But I think they could move into the early 20s, something like that. And I think if they do it, I think it is absolutely for a receiver or a tackle. I don't see them taking any other position in the first round. The only other position, if they stayed at 32, that maybe they would take is corner. You know, if Nate Wiggins got to them, if Terrion Arnold out of Alabama got to them, maybe, you know, Kool-Aid McKinstry, somebody like that, another Alabama corner, maybe they take him. But I think, their needs are pretty well defined. There's not a lot of them. Left tackle and receiver are clear and away the two that you'd say are the biggest. You know, if Brian Thomas Jr. of LSU, if he gets to 22, where Philadelphia is picking, maybe if you're the Chiefs, you know, Veach calls up his buddy Howie Roseman and says, hey, look, we'll move up and we'll give you a mid-round pick. Okay. You know, a tackle, I think tackle, they're more likely to stay where they are. If you just look at the draft, you know, you have Alt going, I think everybody believes in the top 10. After that, you've got a host of guys who are all probably going to go somewhere between 11 and 32. You know, whether it's Latham or Graham Barton or Fashanu or Flaga. I mean, the list goes on. The kid out of BYU. I mean, there's so many different guys. Mims. There might be 10 offensive linemen that go in the first round of this draft. So if they stay at 32, I would think it's more likely a lineman. If they move up, I think it's more a receiver.
Interesting. Yeah, I just love like the different possibilities of what they can do there. I'm more of a trade back guy. Sort of depends on who's available, and you know we've seen the Chiefs go off board of what would be expected before. I mean, Sterling and I were talking about it in the previous hour that you know they traded up and got Trent McDuffie, and you know we thought they were trading up to get Jermaine Johnson from Florida State, and it's like, hold on, they're drafting a corner, but I thought Brett Veach didn't invest in corners and didn't give out contracts and didn't use any draft picks, high draft picks on cornerbacks, and they went off board there. So yeah, it's sort of, and that was because of how the board fell. Because Trent McDuffie was there and they didn't think he would be there, and it's too good, and he's got a first-round grade. And also I think, Matt, what separated that year from this year is, you know, how much do they take into account? They had so many draft picks that year with the Tyreek Hill trade that it sort of allowed them to package some while still being able to work the board and get some other needs where if they're, you know, to a degree cash-strapped in this go-around, where it makes it a little less ideal to move up and get somebody as opposed to collecting draft picks and trying to get more so you can have more dart throws.
Well, you know, what's going to be really interesting in this draft, a few things. So next year, the Chiefs have that extra third-round pick they got from Tennessee for Snead. Mm-hmm. They have had recent classes. They've had a lot of picks, and they've hit on a ton of them. So you're looking at a roster that, I mean, we're sitting here in April. Couldn't you pretty much make a case for about, you already know, about 47 of the positions, you know, on the 53-man roster? You know, I mean, somewhere in that neighborhood. You know, maybe it's a little rich. Maybe it's 45. I mean, you pretty much know, like, okay, these guys are making it, plus the draft class, add in maybe one more free agent, and there you go. I don't know if the Chiefs need 8 or 9 picks. Like, I think the Chiefs, they're talking to people around the league, especially down to Combine Indy. There's a lot of thought among decision makers in the NFL that this draft is unbelievably talented and deep through about the first 110 to 125 picks. which if you factor in compensatory picks is somewhere like the end of the third to the middle of the fourth. And then a lot of people will tell you that after that, it falls off an absolute cliff. That from about the middle to end of fourth on, you're drafting a lot of kids who have been in college for 5-6 years because of COVID eligibility stuff. Kids who in a lot of years would go multiple rounds later or even be UDFAs. So if you're the Chiefs who are trying to three-peat, who have a loaded roster, does it make sense in a year like this when you know you've got extra ammunition next year as well? Does it make sense to just say, you know what, we're going to take a couple of big swings in this thing, and we're going to try to get two guys who come in and play right now. If that means we have 5 total draft picks, fine. We're fine with that. I don't know. Maybe Veach goes the other way. Maybe he says, I want to accumulate as many top 125 picks as possible. But that's what makes the draft so fascinating. Everybody's going to feel differently, and everybody's going to approach it a different way.
Matt Verderam is our guest. Last one for you. If you're picking or predicting, it's a week away, and there's so much that can happen in the next week, and it's throwing a dart as well, maybe blindfold a dart, who knows. And certainly the right to change your guess along the way. But if you're guessing right now, what position do they take in the first round?
Tackle. I didn't take a tackle. I think it's very evenly split between that and receiver. Yeah. I think they're not getting the first 3 guys. And Thomas, if they get him, they're going to have to move up for him. And then after that, I just don't know that there's that much of a difference between wide receiver 5 and wide receiver 9. Like, I don't know. At that point, I might just wait to the second round and get a guy who I think is everybody's good as the guy I'm going to get at 32. Yeah. I don't think that's the case to tackle. I think whoever you're drafting in the first round is going to be demonstrably better than the guy in the second round. I think there might be 9 tackles go off the board in the first round. Like, I think,
unbelievable.
A guy like Fatanu is really interesting to me out of Washington. He can play guard, he can play tackle. Well, they might lose 1 or 2 of their guards after this year, depending on how they approach this. Like, they might need that versatility and flexibility. Another guy, real quick, Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma, 6'8", 314 pounds. They love Oklahoma linemen. They took Creed Humphrey. They traded for Orlando Brown Jr. They drafted Wanye Morris. Like, they love kids out of that program at that position. So just something to keep in mind as we are a week away.
Matt Verderam. Matt, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother. Enjoy the next week or so, and looking forward to watching and certainly reading the coverage that you have of the draft, and certainly from the Chiefs' perspective as well. Matt, thank you so much for the time, man. Appreciate it.
You got it. Anytime.
Absolutely. There's Matt Verderam from SI and also the Matt Verderam Show. He's got the what would be called chaos, the 32 picks that are all traded, the all trade, as he would call the mock draft. So every single pick is a trade. Now, if you from pick number 6 and trade up to number 1, well, that takes care of 1 and 6. So it's not like every single pick every single time is going to be a trade, because then
it's a double trade, though. Have you considered the double trade?
Whoa, no, that's like a double cross.
Yeah,
crisscross. It's a triple stamp, a double stamp. I don't
crisscross
do
make you jump, is what I heard.
They do make you jump. That's right, because everything is to the back with a little slack. You know why? Because inside out,
it's wiggity 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 whack.
We'll take a timeout. More Zone next. picking on Saturday. They got the food trucks, vendors, giveaways, etc. at all 4 of the locations. Again, this location being the Blue Springs one, and they've got deals every day of the week, so it's not just today or tomorrow. And the first-time customers get 20% off your first purchase, and it's all KC owned, operated, local people rooted in community is KC Cannabis, our location today. There you go.
You get 20% off your first order, so what are you buying me?
Well, I mean, you bought me a nice little taquito from Quick Trip, so I appreciate that. So I guess I do have to return the favor.
I'm gonna get.
I didn't realize that came with stipulations.
Ounce. I get a full ounce. I think that's how this works now, right?
I mean, I've been married long enough. I should know that doing that came with stipulations.
Of course, nothing's free.
Yeah, sure. You can go out with your guys that night. Yeah, all right. I got to do dishes the next week. No, I'm just joking. That's not how it is in our house. Come on. We have a dishwasher. We've made it. We're pretty big time.
Yeah, but you still got to clean them off before you put them in the dishwasher.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Sterling. Oh, my goodness. This is whew, you are speaking my language there, buddy.
And sometimes they have to soak a little bit.
Is there breaking news in the NFL or breaking news you do need to actually rinse off the dishes?
Rinse off
you put
dishes.
them in the dishwasher?
Yes, that was the breaking news.
Because you know the food can clog up the dishwasher.
Yes.
Right. And it's not going to automatically clean everything because you can take a bowl out of there and it's like, oh, it's still dirty. Now I got to put it back in there. Or I got to hand wash it. Might as well hand wash it the first time. You know? You definitely.
When I make enchiladas, I just throw it right in the dishwasher. I don't even rinse it off or anything. Everything dried on there from the oven, and it works out, you know?
Yeah, it's always perfectly fine.
I only get sick every other week, so.
And I just, don't even clean, whatever we didn't eat, whatever, I'll just throw it in the dishwasher. It's not a big deal. I mean, do we need to throw it? I don't want to throw food away. Then it starts to smell the trash can and everything. That's terrible. No, we have a dishwasher, so it's a big deal.
I'm proud of you, Jason.
Another
humble brag. He has TVs.
Yep.
He can carry a TV, which I learned.
Right.
So he's
very strong. Very strong.
And he's got a dishwasher. So
hitting the weight room a lot. That's what's going on. It's the testosterone that allows me to carry the TVs now, thanks to Heartland Men's Health.
And they're tubes, by the way. They're actually old school TVs.
Yeah, I ain't carrying those. Not since college, buddy. I ain't carrying those things around. That was absurd, man. People had to actually carry those things upstairs. Oh, God, that's terrible. 913-912-4810. So we were talking about Bill Belichick and whether or not he's going to coach again in the NFL. He was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and they were talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs have pick number 32, so what are they going to do there? And Bill Belichick has had experience picking number 32. Now, they've also had experience of not having first-rounders by having them taken away by the NFL, but that's besides the point. They have experience of picking number 32. So here's that conversation, Pat McAfee and Bill Belichick, about what the Chiefs may be doing and how Bill Belichick approaches things like that.
What is the mindset going into a draft when you are picking that late? Because, this is something that your buddy Andy Reid has to deal with now because they're going to be, 28 and up going forward for the next, 10, 15 years, who knows. But what is kind of the thought process around that? And when do you know, during that first round, hey, we're trading out. There's no point to stay here.
Right. That's a great question. And the answer is every year is different and you really don't know. When you're picking at the end of the draft, and I got this question, from people in our organization and so forth a lot, what are we going to do? We're picking 28th, we're picking 32nd. You tell me who's going to be there, and then I can tell you what we're going to do, but you just really don't know. There's so many teams in front of you. It's just impossible to predict. So did I think we would ever draft Vince Wilfork? I thought there was no chance he would be on the board when we picked. I didn't think Hightower would be there, so we traded up and got him. I didn't think Chandler Jones would be there, so we traded up and got him. Logan Mankins was there, and we waited it out and took Mankins at 32. But you just don't know what's going to be at the end of the draft when you're picking there. So sometimes you see somebody fall in and say, okay, it's worth it to trade and get up and get the guy. Other times you kind of wait and see who slides through. Sometimes you feel like I'm taking this guy, there's not much there at the end of the first round. Let me move back, a few spots and try to either, accumulate some capital or, take the same player or the same quality of player that you're going to take. You got two or three guys you like there, just back up and take a little bit more for it. I think the fifth-year option is an issue at the end of the first round for the high-priced positions. So obviously quarterback, which is what the Ravens did when they took Lamar Jackson. They traded in our spot at 32 to take Jackson and got the fifth-year option on him. Or cornerback, offensive tackle, maybe even pass rusher. But when you talk about the tackles and the pass rushers and the receivers at that point, you're probably talking about the fifth or sixth guy. But look, if it's a guy who's going to end up making a lot of money at one of those high quality positions, then it's worth it probably to be up in the first round and potentially have a fifth-year option. So that's sometimes a factor too of there's a little bit of savings from the first round to the second round because that fifth-year option is included in the first round.
It's interesting. There's so many different things that can happen at the end of the draft, like he's talking about, especially at the end of the first round. I would love for them to trade back, right? I mean, it's if they can trade back at the end of the first round, that'd be great. Picking 32, let's collect some more picks. And I know there's a lot of people that want them to trade up, so you can get a better player, and it makes it more fun, and it's more exciting, and you can get a player that's going to come in and contribute right away, or at least you hope that was the case. And for the Chiefs, I think they have shown that accumulating the draft picks gives them a better chance of building an overall roster with depth that can get you through a full season, and you have guys then that can become those really good players. If the Chiefs didn't trade Tyreek Hill, obviously they'd have Tyreek Hill. Who knows who they wouldn't have right now? Maybe Chris Jones on the team because of the money they'd be paying Tyreek Hill. But if they didn't trade Tyreek Hill and have those different selections, if they sit there in their spot and take Karlaftis, okay, you don't have McDuffie. You take Brian Cook. Or flip that. You just take Sky Moore, and then you don't have Brian Cook. And it's like, okay, well, now you don't have a safety. Now you don't have a cornerback. Those are two pretty big pieces of a –
You still don't have a wide receiver.
Yeah, and you still don't – exactly, and you still don't have a wide receiver. Now maybe you go, well, why would they take Sky Moore? Because you'd have Tyreek Hill, so maybe they take Brian Cook. Certainly, yes. But when we look at that draft, it is viewed in such a positive light because of all the different players that you got from that. You got Trent McDuffie. You got George Karlaftis. You got Brian Cook. Chanel is contributing. You got Joshua Williams. You got Pacheco. Jalen Watson is a part of that draft class as well. You had all these different guys. But you also drafted Sky Moore. You also drafted Darian Kennard, who's not even on the team anymore. You drafted Najee Johnson, who was a seventh-rounder, but, we'll see what he's going to be this year. Hopefully he can make an impact in some way. But if you take some of those away and then you throw them in with you drafted Kennard, you drafted Sky Moore, and you drafted Najee Johnson, yeah, if you don't have as many picks. But having all those picks allows you to have three guys that have done next to nothing on this team. One of those being a second-round draft pick, another one being you trading back in the second round to get the fifth-round pick that you got with that player in Darian Kennard, and an offensive lineman 2 years later after that draft is not even on your team, and you took him in the fifth round? Like, that's not good enough. It would be viewed in such a different light. But when you've got that many chances to land those really good players, you get a guy like a Brian Cook or a Chanel or a Karlaftis or a Trent McDuffie, et cetera.
I do think what's so hard, though, is – a lot of teams seemingly do not want to trade with Kansas City, right?
Well, they're dumb.
Do you want to help your the new dynasty, if you will?
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't. And then, two, I think we're starting to see a trend, and I've been wrong before, and maybe I'll be wrong again. This just might be a certain couple of years stretch, but how many teams have all of a sudden decided, you know what, we want that 32 spot. We want that fifth-year option the past couple. We haven't seen it as often. All the rumors the Chiefs trying to trade up or back and get out of 32. I don't know, Will Levis. I mean, I know Belichick brings it up, the premium positions, but there was premium positions still there last year. Didn't matter. It didn't matter that Will Levis was there at 32 and the Chiefs couldn't still trade back. And again, I know you brought this up in a joking manner the other day of, yeah, of course, you can trade back if you want. Brett Veach, hey, you're not trading back. It's in Kansas City. We want to still make our pick here. But I think if they could have, they would have traded back. I just don't think that fifth-year option is quite as, maybe I'm wrong, quite as valuable as it once was, because now all these guys are saying, hey, if you don't give me a long-term extension now, the players are starting to get more of the power. Contracts are getting larger.
Yeah.
You're starting to get more of the franchise tag. The rookie contracts are getting larger as well, obviously. It's getting more convoluted, and you've seen, I think, over the past few years, the struggles of trying to trade out of 32. It sounds great on paper, no matter what we want and maybe even what the Chiefs want. It comes down to the reality and finding a trade partner. That is the hard thing.
Yeah. There is some news in college basketball, and that is the Kansas Jayhawks have landed another player. So good for them. I bet they feel very excited. No, I'm joking. No, but they landed a pretty damn good player. All right, A.J. Storr from Wisconsin has committed to KU, and that is a fantastic get. You throw Zeke Mayo and Rylan Griffin, and now you throw A.J. Storr with this team, and you've got guys in a I mean, you can have a 4-guard lineup out there if you want to. You're going to be playing differently than you did a year ago. Guy 17 points per game for Wisconsin, and is that's a fantastic portal class right now. If it's just Mayo, Kugel, Griffin, Storr, like guys like that. But Kugel, I don't know why I left him out, but that's a pretty damn good pickup too. But if you're looking at Mayo, Kugel, and Storr, that's a pretty damn good start.
Yeah, and you can play and rock the 4-guard lineup when A.J. Storr is 6'7".
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's going to help you out just a little bit there. You mentioned the 17 points per game. This is obviously his 3rd team now in, 3 years? He was at St. John's, then Wisconsin, then Kansas. But that's just the way of the new college basketball. Will he be there for his senior year in Lawrence? Maybe not. But again, you're going at year by year. When you have, again, in my opinion, I think the 4-guard lineup in college basketball is the best way of going deep in March. I firmly believe that you still need to have one big guy, right? But I think when the big guy is your focal point, as we saw with Zach Edey, he's kind of the unicorn, if you will. Klingen's great for UConn, but he wasn't the main guy on that UConn team. They were 4 guards. I still consider Caravan a guard, almost in my opinion, right? And then you had Klingen. I think if KU does rock that 4-guard set, you can still throw A.J. Storr as a guy who can guard a lot of the bigger bodies, the 3s and 4s on the opposing teams. Again, he's not the biggest dude at 205, but that 6'7", the height, the length, that really matters in college basketball where you might not be able to get away with that in the NBA.
Yeah, another part of it, people thought A.J. Storr was going to end up in Illinois, that it was going to be him heading to Illinois. There was a reported $1 million ask for him in NIL. And you know what? Good for him asking for it. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. And maybe he ended up getting that $1 million. But also his girlfriend yesterday or the day before, maybe it was more recent than that, committed to KU to play basketball for the women's team.
Aww.
So A.J. Storr is now heading to Lawrence with his stalker.
You say stalker, I say romantic.
Stalker alert. I mean, you can't let her have her own life, A.J. Let her be her own woman.
It's a love story.
It is. It's
a
absolutely
love story.
No, it's cool. It's awesome. And now they'll be like the basketball couple, like USC with what's the name of the movie? Damn it! Come on, Love and Basketball. Got it.
Nailed it.
Got it. Just like USC, it'll be at KU. Love and Basketball Part D. There. But A.J. Storr heading to KU. It's a big one because now you've got 3 guys that they got in the transfer portal that every single one of them made more threes than anybody on KU's roster last year. All 3,
Hey, pump the brakes for a second because everyone thought Timberlake was going to all of a sudden become this 3-point shooter at Kansas.
Well,
and
yeah,
he,
but at least Storr and Griffin have done it at a big
fair.
Not at Towson, right? You weren't doing it at Towson, and then can that translate? Storr was doing it at Wisconsin, and Rylan Griffin was doing it for a team that made the Final Four. So not too bad. We'll take a timeout, come back, and one of the best sounds we've heard, and if we don't have a lot of time to play it in the next segment, we'll have some fun with sports or leisure with it as well. We'll take a timeout. We're hanging out at Casey Cannabis, location in Blue Springs. They've got some cool stuff going on today, cool stuff tomorrow with a happy hour all day, on into Saturday, partying with the food trucks, vendors, giveaways. They got specials every single day, and today they got buy one, get one 40% off on all edibles. We'll take a timeout, come back, more Zone next. your KC Connect jersey. The location we are at today for KC Cannabis is the Blue Springs location, I-70, just off I-70, 7 Highway. They've got 4 locations. This location here in Blue Springs, they've got one in Lake Lotawana, got one in Kearney, got one in Excelsior Springs. They got a 5th one coming up north. So check them out. KC Cannabis, our location today. They got the specials going on today, tomorrow, on into the weekend. Every day they got specials. KCCannabis.org, where you can go and check out the menu and make online orders, etc. So last night, a lot of times when it's a losing clubhouse, the clubhouse of a team that lost, you get some pretty boring sound bites. You get the, we just got to come back tomorrow and try to figure some things out, and, we'll get things rolling. And then you get the follow-up from the reporter that's always trying to disarm what feels like it could be a harsh question of, like, so what do you guys, what do you think the issue is going on right now? Just trying to let them know, like, hey, I'm here because I got to ask the question, right? I'm not trying to, come at you. Well, last night Pete Fairbanks blew yet another save for the Rays and his roughly 9 ERA. And Pete Fairbanks at his locker in the clubhouse last night, here's how it sounded in one of the best answers to a post-game question about a pitcher that was just terrible last night.
Was it just a matter of command, location, selection, anything specific?
No, I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck. So, we're going to try and rectify that. But for right now, I'm going to be pretty pissed about it.
Pete, where do you kind of go from here? Is it looking at tape? Is it going through mechanics? Where do you kind of go from here?
You tell me. I've tried that. If you got an answer, I'd love to hear. Just, not going to let it beat me up for, I'll maybe give it till 10. It's 9:44 right now. We'll give it 16 minutes of sulk, and then we'll, get back on the bump and figure it out.
And I totally relate with that last part. Like, I'll sulk right until 10 o'clock, and then at 10 o'clock in the morning, I got to go. And then I got to figure things out, get back on the bump, and go. I would say it generally sucked. Not specific, more of an all-encompassing suck.
I thought it generally
Jason,
sucked.
what do you think of me as your new co-host?
I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck.
That's right.
Is that about right?
That's probably good. I mean, it's just in general, like, hey, how do we assess this show today?
I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck.
A little harsh, Pete. A little harsh. Maybe you speak for yourself. I mean, you're the one that sucks. You can't even get an out on the mound. You got a 9 ERA. I got a 0 ERA right now.
He's letting Missouri down.
Is he?
Mizzou
The
guy.
Entire state?
Well, he's a Mizzou guy, kind of.
He's just letting the entire state of Missouri down.
He may be from Missouri. I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
I'll take your word for it. I want to know. I want to be friends with the guy just from that answer alone. Sports or leisure next.
I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck.
You're into sports, but nothing wrong with a little leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's time for a little sports or leisure. On a Thursday, it's presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 to Johnny's Tavern heading your way. If you get a sports and a leisure question right, you win. Either of them wrong, you lose. But the question will still remain out there and available for someone to call in and request. We don't give out the right answer until someone answers it correctly, or we have simply run out of time to play sports or leisure. That's how you play, and that's what you get with winning $25 to Johnny's Tavern. We are hanging out at Casey Cannabis today, our location in Blue Springs. They've got 4 locations, Lake Lotawana, Kearney, Excelsior Springs. They got a 5th one coming up north, which is near Zona Rosa, right next to Initub. That'll be opening up and coming up this summer. But any of the 4 locations, they've got these great specials going on today. Buy one, get one, 40% off on all edibles. That's at all 4 of the locations. They got happy hour all day tomorrow. Got the party coming up on Saturday at all 4 locations. Food trucks, vendors, giveaways, all of that. This specific location will have some other cool goodies for the first 100 customers that come up on Saturday, 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock here at Casey Cannabis. Locally owned, locally operated, local people throughout the entire business and rooted in community. It is Kansas City Cannabis. You can go to caseycannabis.org to check out the menu and to make your online orders. And this location in Blue Springs, the only one with the drive-through, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Make the order ahead of time, boom, drive-through, and pick it up, and on your way you go. And this location today, before we are done, you come in and make any purchase, you are then eligible for the drawing. We'll be giving away later on this hour. We're going to be giving away that KC Connect Bobby Witt Jr. Jersey. That comes up in about 50 minutes or so from now. So we'll be doing that beautiful, beautiful KC Connect Bobby Witt Jr. Jersey. 913-3-810-810. 913-3-810-810 is the phone number. 913-3-810-810. So load them up, first in, first on, to play a little sports or leisure. Should we go through the categories, Sterling?
We should.
I think we should as well. On the sports side, we're going to focus specifically on the NFL draft coming up next week. So we have just general NFL draft questions. We have Chiefs-specific NFL draft questions. And then we have Chiefs draft forgettables. So Chiefs draft picks, maybe early draft picks, that turned out to be not so good. We've got a number of those in the history of the Chiefs. So those are the categories: NFL draft, Chiefs draft, and Chiefs draft forgettables. What about on the leisure side, Sterling?
We have some Sing Me a Song, You're the Piano Man, which has finished the lyric.
Which he didn't get to do. On the live performance with
yes.
with Billy Joel, they cut him off during Piano Man, and they went to it. It was like the Heidi game version of a live performance. But anyway,
now
go ahead.
The listener gets to finish this. There we go.
Sing us a song, you're the tuba player? I don't know what it is. Anyway, go ahead, sir.
It was actually trumpet. We have
that was
What's
Mambo
That
number
Name?
5.
Yeah, that song slaps. That song, I will throw on some Lou Bega.
Trumpet.
What's That Name? Baseball edition. We still have a few of these left, which
Cool.
is What's This Dude's Real Name? Please, everyone, can we just exhaust this list? I'd be very happy if you did. And since we are here at KC Cannabis, I am doing some marijuana-related IDMB. I think I nailed the letters this time. IBMD.
Yep. That's exactly
that's
right.
what it is.
Some people might use IMDb, but it doesn't matter which website you go to. Either one of them should give you the answer.
Or BD,
correct.
In the past. Some have.
So we have the movies.
Was that on the air, Dylan? Please tell me that was on the air, not in our ear.
That was on the air.
Okay, thankfully. When we're on remote, sometimes we don't know what's in our ear and what's over the air, so I'm glad that you gave out the correct one.
Sometimes I don't either, so, it's a mixed bag.
Hey, it happens, man. All good. So there you go. Those are the categories today?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, great. Those are the categories. That's how you play. 913-3-810-810. I'm good to go. Sterling, you ready?
We are literally here live at KC Cannabis. If you want me to get more leisurely, I can. I will. Trust me. There's some indica up there. If you want me to just really just melt,
Okay.
We could have a fun show.
Just slide down into
Just
the ground.
slide
Just
down.
melt down into the ground. Dylan, you good to go?
It's getting kind of hard to believe things are going to get better.
Sounds like he is good to go. 913-3810810. We start off with Matt leading us off on sports or leisure. Matt, what side do you want to start with, man? Sports side or the leisure side?
Let's go with Chiefs draft forgettables.
Chiefs draft forgettables. Okay. Since the merger, the Chiefs have had a top 3 pick 5 different times. 4 of those picks have been defensive ends. Who's the most recent defensive end the Chiefs selected in the top 3? Since the merger, they have had a top 3 pick 5 times. 4 of those picks have been Now, he's a draft forgettable, by the way. So, I mean, he was a bust. That's another way of saying draft forgettable is but not all of them would be bust because not all of them would be first-round draft picks. But, you get the point. Top 3 pick, defensive end, most recent of the 4 defensive ends they've taken in the top 3. Obviously, they took, somebody else number 1 overall, which wasn't a defensive end. Who's the most recent one? Chiefs draft forgettable.
I think it was Tyson Jackson.
Tyson Jackson is correct. That is correct. The other 3 defensive ends they have selected in the top 3, you got Neil Smith, Mike Bell, and Art Still, and Tyson Jackson. So which one of these is not like the other? On to leisure with Sterling.
We have IMDb, we have What's That Name Baseball Edition, and we have Finish the Lyric.
Let's do IMDb, please.
All right. Again, we are at KC Cannabis, so just keep that in mind when I say these questions. For this movie, it is a process server and his marijuana dealer wind up on the run from a hitman and a corrupt police officer after he witnesses his dealer's boss murder a competitor while trying to serve papers on him.
How about Pineapple Express?
How about
you
a winner?
Nailed it.
That's right. How about a winner? $25. Johnny's Tavern heading your way. Pineapple Express. And you can go look that movie up at MIBD.com. That's the right one?
I think it's MDBI.
There it is. Yeah. Got it. But you'll be heading to Johnny's Tavern where you can actually look up the movies at IMDb. Whatever. Matt, well done, man. Congratulations. We'll get you information and appreciate you playing, man.
Thank you.
He's obviously very excited, too, to play. Charles next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Charles, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Let's do some leisure. Try, what's that dude's name?
All right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the name on leisure.
Oh, man, good luck. We got the easy ones out. I'm trying to exhaust this list. What's That Name Baseball Edition? Do you want a slightly newer one, like a 70s, 80s one, or a old school one?
Let's do some 70s, 80s.
All right. Raleigh Fingers. What is Raleigh Fingers' real name? He's got a great mustache, obviously. Great closer. Raleigh Fingers.
How do you spell Raleigh to help him?
Rollie. The first 3 letters of his real name.
What?
Are the same as in Raleigh. So
wow.
I'll give you a hint. Roll.
How about that?
His name starts with Roll. This is hard, I
know. Roland Fingers?
Yes, it's Roland Fingers.
Nice job.
I
Well
understand why he went by Raleigh.
Yeah, that
exactly.
makes sense. On to the sports side, Charles. What side do you like? What category are you thinking?
Let's keep doing the Chiefs bust.
Yep, absolutely.
Pick.
Let's go with this one. In 1995, the Chiefs were in need of a tackle to play on the line of scrimmage. They had the 31st pick in the draft and chose this Michigan man who played only 3 years in the league and only 9 games for the Chiefs.
Michigan tackle.
9 games for the Chiefs total. Oh.
Good.
Very forgettable, obviously. But he's a fun name, and people would certainly remember the bust from it and the fight he got into in the locker room. Well, maybe people won't remember that. I don't know.
The last name is also the same as a very famous YouTube clip. right?
Oh, really? Is it?
Remember?
It's also the name of a top 5 draft pick in Major League Baseball last year. But I don't know the. Oh yeah, no, I got you now.
Took you a second, yeah.
Yeah, I got you now. Okay, very good. Charles, what are you thinking?
He was first round, right?
It was a first-round draft pick.
I want to say that's Trezell Jenkins.
Yeah, I would say that too. Trezell Jenkins is correct.
Not Leroy.
Not Leroy. Oh my God, he already went in. Charles, will put you on hold. Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Super duper.
All right. Thank you, Charles. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. I didn't know where you were going with that, with the YouTube things. I'm like, YouTube at Jenkins, but yeah.
I couldn't say Leroy. Could be Fergie Jenkins too.
It could have been Ferguson Jenkins. Certainly, I was. It could have been that. So, all right. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. 913-381-0810. Let's go back to the phone lines. Avery next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Avery, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Trezell Jenkins.
Oh my God, they drafted him. Oh no, they drafted him. He's already in there. We're going to get destroyed. Yeah, you did. Nice job.
I'll do draft post.
All right, draft forgettables for you. Oh man, I don't have any tough ones for you now. I'm sort of annoyed. This American Samoan second-round pick has been more known for what took place off the field than what he was ever known for in his 2 years in a Chiefs uniform on the field.
Samoan?
Yep, second-round Samoan. Yep. I'm glad I asked this one. Yay. Making Avery think.
I was going to say, this is a watershed moment here.
I know. I thought he was just going to go, oh, of course that's, this guy.
Same. I actually wasn't taking Charles's information because I thought this was going to be.
Well, like what happened off the field?
He got physical with some authorities, May have been like one of those spit mask thingies that had to use at some point.
Did like Kato pass on you or do something like that?
I could never see Passanio doing something like that. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, Junior Ciavi.
Yeah, yes, it's Junior Ciavi. That's right. Nice job. Well done, Avery. I'm gonna trust you didn't Google it.
No.
I'm going to trust, because Avery has never been accused of Googling before, so I'm going to trust
I'm just so fast, it's hard to tell. Can I do the I am Doobie?
Oh, yeah, you are Doobie.
Oh, that's a great name for the category.
That's great. Thanks, Avery. I am Doobie.
Sterling not smart enough to do that, so thank you, Avery. I am Doobie.
I am not.
I had to make it to this side to gift you guys that.
Boy, you're lucky you got there then.
All right. This one is the story of 3 not-so-bright men who came up with a series of crazy schemes to get a friend out of jail.
Half-baked?
Half-baked. You nailed it, man.
Nice job.
I've not seen that movie in a long time.
What was his? What was Dave Chappelle's job in Half-Baked, Avery?
He was a janitor at the the medical weed place?
He was a master of the custodial arts. Or a janitor if you want to be a D about it. So apparently Avery, we know Avery is a Richard. We know Avery is the jerk because you said he was a janitor.
No, I'm probably closer to going on a date and robbing a blind man for a change.
Oh, man, that's so great. We will put you on hold in case you want to have a conversation with Dylan. I don't know. I'm assuming we got your information. Thank you, Avery.
Thanks, boss.
God, I love that he said janitor. Just for the comedic relief of the janitor. He's a master of the custodial arts.
I have not seen that movie in a long time.
I'm glad you qualified it with a long time. You were about to be fired immediately.
Oh, I got another movie I want to get up here next.
Oh, good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, sometimes it just clicks.
Half-Baked Part 2.
No. I got a good one, though.
So that's 3 winners in a row. We are just giving away Johnny's Tavern. We're giving away the entire restaurant. 913-381-0810. We go to Logan next up on Sports Radio 810. Logan, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with, bud?
Oh, let's go Chiefs forgettables.
Chiefs draft forgettables. Okay. Let's go with this one. I don't know. These two these two players were spotlighted in the Chiefs' season of Hard Knocks after being selected in back-to-back rounds in the second and third rounds. Their alliteration of their first name nickname was the most memorable parts of their Chiefs career. They were profiled in Hard Knocks because there was no storyline that year. The storyline was Damon Heward versus Brody Croyle, who was going to start. Is it going to be Damon Heward or Brody Croyle? And then these guys were drafted in the second and third rounds, and they became fast friends. And they even had a scene where they were out just in a field because it wasn't in St. Joe. It was up in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
and
River
out in some
Falls, yeah.
random field, just standing there looking out over the field and talking. And it was like, what is going on with the Hard Knocks storylines? It's terrible.
I don't even have a guess. I don't know.
Logan, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. That one is out there. The alliteration of the first name.
That one's pretty tough. I'm not going to lie. I would have gotten the second name, but that first name is.
Oh, come on!
It's gonna.
You can't have one without the other.
You do realize
they're
I'm
a combo
a little
pick.
Younger than you.
They're a combo pick. You can't have one without the other.
Fair.
You know.
Fair.
All right, we go to Chuck next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Chuck, sports or leisure, sir?
Samson gets me lifted.
I want to talk to Samson. Doctor said I need a pacchiotomy.
Hard Knocks.
The Hard Knocks question? Yeah, who are the players?
Yes, sir. It's Tank and Turk, right?
That's right. Turk McBride, Tank Tyler. Turk and Tank, Tank and Turk. And what a great storyline it was following those guys to a random field. Yes, Turk McBride and Tank Tyler were those two players that ended up being forgettable, but, they had fun names. On to leisure with Sterling.
I'll try the IMDb if you got one left.
Yes, we still have some IMDb's. Okay, we got this one. Things get very funny aboard the maiden flight of this airline, thanks to some last-minute passenger additions. Snoop Dogg is the pilot.
I've never seen this one.
How about this one? A movie that I wanted to watch really bad as a kid because I saw a trailer, and my parents were like, you got to wait till you're older because I was 10 years old. And then I waited till I was older, then I finally watched the movie, and I'm like, I can't believe I waited 4 years to watch this.
Wasn't worth the wait?
It exceeded expectations. Exceeded expectations.
Okay, great. That's
Tom
even
Arnold's also.
Really?
I've never seen it, so I don't know. So I don't know if you were going with it sucked or
I was kind of
awesome,
being facetious.
or it was awesome.
It's
I don't
I've
know.
seen better movies.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I've seen better days.
So it's not Snoop on a plane or Snakes on a plane. I think it's Soul Plane.
It is Soul Plane. You nailed it.
You know what? Snoop on a Plane was the first title. It was the working title. They eventually changed it to Soul Plane. But I think they made a mistake. Snoop on a Plane would have been great. And then Samuel Jackson with the follow-up of Snakes on a Plane. I'm sick and tired of these mother-bleeping Snoops on these mother-bleeping planes. Chuck, that is a winner. Well done, sir. Thank you for playing. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. 913-381-0810. We'll take a timeout, come back, and continue playing a little sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 to Johnny's Tavern we're giving away for some sports or leisure. We're hanging out at the Blue Springs location of KC Cannabis, I-70, 7 Highway, just off I-70. They also have locations at Lake Lotawana, Kearney, Excelsior Springs. They got a fifth one opening up this summer near Zona Rosa up north, right next to the N-Tub. That is KC Cannabis. You can go to kccannabis.org. Check out the menu. You can make online orders. They've got the drive-thru at this location in Blue Springs. Today, buy one, get one 40% off on all edibles. That's all 4 locations, not just this one. They got the happy hour all day tomorrow. They got the party going on Saturday all day. Food trucks, vendors, giveaways. and some cool goodies and giveaways for those at this specific Blue Springs location as well. Locally owned, locally operated, rooted in community. It's KC Cannabis. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. Sports or leisure, one more segment, 913-381-810. More Zone next. afternoon. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. The program with Soren Petro comes your way at 2 when we are done, and then tonight, Best of, and then Sporting KC show tonight at 7 o'clock after the disappointing result, but I think a lot of fun that people had out at Arrowhead Stadium last week for the game with Messi. It was Miami. Who cares? It was Messi. But the Sporting KC show coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. We are playing some Sports or Leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 to Johnny's Tavern. We're giving away. You get a sports question and a leisure question right, you win. Either of them wrong, you lose. And we are doing that while hanging out at KC Cannabis. 4 locations for KC Cannabis. We're at the Blue Springs location off I-70, 7 Highway. And they've got great specials going on today, great specials tomorrow. The party going on Saturday with the food trucks and vendors and giveaways, and all of the locations will have that. They got specials every single day at KC Cannabis. And first-time customers get 20% off your first purchase. And before the show is over, so you got a little bit of time, if you purchase anything today, you are automatically registered to win the Bobby Witt KC Connect jersey, a beautiful jersey. Love the KC Connect jerseys, and you can win that by purchasing something here at this location, the Blue Springs location. We'll be doing the drawing right at 2 o'clock. 913-3810810, sports or leisure. To the phone lines we go, and we talk with Shane. Next up on Sports Radio 810. Shane, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I want to start with sports. Do you know any more of those forgettable draft picks?
Yes, we do. We have some draft forgettables. Let's go with this one. Since the merger, the Chiefs have had plenty of years without a first-round pick. They've also had 3 different years where they had multiple picks in the first round. Not close to approaching the 1984 draft when they drafted Bill Moss and John Alt. The most recent multiple pick draft produced these 2 players, a tackle and a defensive lineman. They combined for 1 Pro Bowl.
So you want both of them? Tackle and defensive lineman?
Yeah.
Okay.
What were you saying, Sterling?
I think you'll get this one. If you think hard about this.
You know Shane personally?
No, but I believe in Shane. I believe in
him too. I believe in Shane.
Sorry you doubted the man.
No, I believe in Shane. That's why I gave him this question.
Shane, it's the same position, so you're looking at a
tackle and a defensive lineman.
Yes,
and not defend, but Bill Moss, John Alt, and these 2 players, and 1 Pro Bowl between the 2. The Pro Bowl was the tackle.
Yes. It was definitely not the defensive lineman.
Not the defensive lineman. And we've already said Tyson Jackson.
But he seemingly gets thrown in with the Tyson Jackson
He
category
does.
a lot.
You were right about that.
Yeah.
You were right about that. The schools sort of make that connection a lot.
Yeah.
And the proximity in the years in which they were drafted.
And they always yell, "Go Tigers" down there.
Let me tell you something about these 2 players, boy. I mean, they get down there in LSU and Louisiana, and they're going to play some pretty good football in college. Ain't much good football in the NFL or anything like that, but they play some good football in college, I'll tell you that much.
I got nothing. And you said,
Jason made that bit going a long time for you.
That was short.
You just keep referring back to 84, but you're saying this is the only time it's happened since, right?
Well, no, so 84. I bring up 84 because it was a tackle and a defensive lineman. It's happened 3 different times where they've had multiple years where they haven't had a first round, but 3 different years they've had multiple picks in the first round. These 2 players were not necessarily all that good compared to 84. They had 2 picks in the first round, and bam, they got Bill Moss and John Alt.
Yeah, I think I got it then because with your guys' last hint with the LSU boy, I was thinking of him. But he's not the one that got the Pro Bowl. It's the other guy, I think, the tackle.
That's right.
So I'm going to guess Glenn Dorsey and Brandon Albert.
That's 2. That's right. Glenn Dorsey and Brandon Albert. Glenn Dorsey, though, in his defense, he did record 3 sacks in 5 years. So, I mean, you got to give him that, right? I mean, if we're really –
what a wild draft. The Chiefs had like 13 players drafted that year.
How many Pro Bowls they get out of that one?
They got
no, they got
Dorsey,
Jamal Charles in that.
Brandon Albert, Brandon Flowers, back-to-back Brandons, of course.
Oh, I love the
Jamal Charles. You remember Brad Cottam?
Oh yeah.
Jawan Morgan.
Yep.
Will Franklin,
but
also Brandon.
They got the Brandons because they got Flowers and Carr in that draft.
Yeah, and then like 5 other players. A lot of guys.
I believe Brandon Carr is probably still playing somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
He might have been playing last year, like legit. Shane over to Leisure with Sterling. I'm gonna look that up. I think Brandon Carr's still playing.
I'd like to be the piano man.
Oh yes, piano man. I am excited for you to do this. We'll go with. I'll let you choose the band. We have Guns N' Roses, we have Foreigner, we have Creed, and we have Alice Cooper.
2020 was the last year that Brandon Carr played for the Dallas Cowboys. I guess it's been a few years.
Let's go with GNR.
All right, welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. We got everything you want. Blank, 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 blank.
Oh, thank goodness I stopped.
That would be.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. We got everything you want. Blank, 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 blank.
I feel like I'm going to screw up the words because, gosh, I know that song too.
Because Axl Rose,
of course, we all know that song.
Right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's, do I need to sing it?
Yes,
I mean, if you want to, I mean, we get extra.
Yeah.
You get extra points. You actually get $25.10 to.
Fun games, we got everything. Honey, we know the names.
Yeah.
Bam. There we go.
Yes.
That's
a winner right there.
That's a winner.
That's a winner.
See, that's the spirit of the game. He's saying it. I appreciate you.
Very well done, sir.
That would have been better. Good job, Jason. Much better than me.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. We'll put you on hold. You get to talk to Dylan. You can answer that phone call as well. We appreciate you playing, brother. $25 to Johnny's Tavern heading your way, Shane.
Thank you, guys. Super
absolutely.
duper.
Yeah. 913-382-810 is the phone number. I'm glad I stopped then because I was going to keep going.
You ruined so many
Only
of these
one.
Three.
One time. It happened one time, okay?
And then another.
Did it happen twice?
It was back-to-back, yes.
Was it? Oh, my bad. Yeah. I win some, you lose some. Let's go to Doug. I'll be your Doug. Doug next up on Sports Radio 810. Sports or Leisure, Doug, what's up, man? What side do you want to start with?
Let's start with sports. Chiefs
All right,
forgettables.
Chiefs forgettables. All right, let's go with that one. Got to pull up my questions and take off the Brandon Carr Wikipedia page for some reason. All right, this Canton, Ohio quarterback is connected to Patrick Mahomes loosely in Chiefs history. He might be from Canton, but that's the closest he ever came to being considered a great quarterback. Also wrote a book called Taste of the Town.
Oh, is that class of '83 draft?
I believe that would be the one.
Todd Blackledge.
Todd Blackledge, that is correct. He is connected to Patrick Mahomes since Mahomes was the next first-round draft pick they took after Blackledge. Yeah. They're like, you know what? We can't figure it out. We had that draft with all those quarterbacks. We took Blackledge, whatever.
You had to wait 40 years. You had to wait 40,
but
close to 40.
But here's how he's also loosely connected to Patrick Mahomes. He's from Canton, and that's where Patrick Mahomes will end up. Is in Canton.
There you go.
On to Leisure with Sterling.
Yeah. Could we do that? What's his name? Is that the one where you had the Raleigh fingers?
Yeah,
we did.
Baseball one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do what's his name.
All right.
Let's
do.
Good old what's his name?
Let's do Cool Papa Bell. I like Cool Papa Bell. What's Cool Papa Bell's real name? Because surprisingly, it was not Cool Papa.
Which is quite the disappointment. I'll say that.
Baseball Hall of Famer. Cool Papa Bell. He said he earned the nickname in his first Negro League season. He referred to as cool after striking out Oscar Charleston. And then he added Papa to the nickname because he said it sounded better. So he got the nickname
so not
cool.
Just Cool Bell.
He's
cool
like,
Papa
well,
Bell.
I want to be Cool Papa. So
for him.
I've been down there, but yeah.
Typically, you can't give yourself your own nickname.
You should get this. It's a fairly common name. Actually, it's a very common name. What hints could we give him?
It's my middle name is his middle name.
Do you know Jason's middle name? It's also with
I
a
wish
J.
I did right now.
Good alliteration.
So we
Good
just need the
alliteration.
first name, right? We don't need
No, you don't need the
Okay,
entire
never
thing.
mind, because his middle name is the same as my middle name.
We don't need Thomas. Sorry.
Yeah,
Jason Thomas, GTA.
Yeah, JTA.
JTA. Yeah,
JTA.
GTA would be cooler because like the game. But yeah.
Yeah, right. But
Okay.
my name is traditional biblical spelling of Jason with a J.
Okay.
Figure that out.
I'll go with a common name because it's going to be a guess. John?
Oh, so close.
It was not John,
Not
but it's
John.
very close though.
It's
It
close
is
to
very
John.
close.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate you playing, brother.
Yeah.
913-381-810. That was Doug. Sorry about that, Doug. Man, that was so close though.
I do find it pretty fun how he got the nickname Cool Papa Bell.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, he's like, you're cool. And it's like, well, I want to be a cool papa.
yeah. Well, don't we all?
Don't we all want to be a cool papa?
You know, here's the thing: you are when your kids are young. You're the cool papa when your kids are young, and then eventually, I'm not there yet, but eventually you be the one that the kids don't like. But there was a saying. It was, you're not as cool as you think you are, but you're cooler than what your kids think you are. I like that one. Except for me, I'm totally as cool as I think I am, and my kid thinks I'm just the bee's knees. And cool people say bee's knees. So, Craig, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Craig, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I'll take that last question because I looked it up. James Bell.
It is James
Thomas
Cool Papa Bell.
I appreciate the honesty. That's great.
There wasn't a chance in hell I would have got that right unless I looked it
James
up.
Thomas Cool Papa Bell, but I appreciate the honesty. On to the sports side, Craig.
Oh, wait.
We've got.
I think I might have screwed up then. I wanted to go like the Guns N' Roses side. Well, I already screwed all.
Well,
all the hell.
you sort of did. Yeah, that was leisure.
Oh.
That was
I'm
just
leisure,
a leisurely
Craig.
man. It sounds like you want to hang with me, though. We can.
Sure. We've got Chiefs draft and we have NFL draft. We don't have Chiefs draft forgettables. Again, that category has been exhausted. But we do have Chiefs draft and we have NFL draft.
Is there anything that with Percy Snow?
We do not have any Percy Snow questions.
Okay. Give me whatever Chiefs.
Okay, very
draft.
good. This was a linebacker drafted in the early 90s from Michigan State.
Oh. Any hints?
Drafted in 1990, first-round draft pick out of Michigan State.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
He was also born in
I was
Canton,
going to say,
Ohio.
also born in Canton, Ohio. Wow. Yeah.
Yep.
Todd
Played in
Blackledge?
Germany, it looks like.
Not Todd Blackledge.
Is that a final year in Germany, it looks
Yep,
like?
played for NFL
yeah.
Europa,
Ah.
as Carl Peterson used to call it.
Yeah.
NFL Europa. He was the Butkus Award winner and the Lombardi Award winner in college at Michigan State. And this person rapped about him being an informer.
Did he get hurt on a golf cart?
I don't remember if he did.
No, I'm thinking of the wrong person.
That informer joke was very good, by
Thank
the
you.
way.
I
That
appreciate
was very good.
Yes. I leaky boom boom down.
No.
What do you say, Craig?
I got nothing, guys.
All right. Craig, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it.
All right.
913-381-810. Dylan, do we have time for one more, or are we done? We do have time for one more? Okay, very good. Sean, wrap us up here on sports or leisure. What side do you want to start with?
Let's do sports. Was that last question a real question?
It was a real question. It was a real actual question, and it was a real actual question because of who he said he wanted a question about.
Yes, I was like, that was super funny, man. Super funny.
Do you want that one?
I sure do.
Okay. Who's the first round draft pick in 1990 from Michigan State, a linebacker?
It's Percy Snow.
Percy Snow is correct. Percy Snow. The guy said,
That guy's
"Can I-
kicking himself right
Can
up.
I get
No
a Percy
way.
Snow question?" No, you can't. But you can tell me who the first-round draft pick in 1990 was, the 13th pick overall from Michigan State that won the Lombardi Trophy and the Butkus Award in college. Oh, I have no idea. What kind of question is that? On to leisure.
As soon
with
as
Sterling.
you said 1990, I just started cracking up laughing.
Do you want to sing me a song or the Piano Man? Do you want a What's That Name baseball edition, or do you want DBIM?
Let's do the names.
All right, What's That Name? Do you want old school, you want 2000s, or you want 80s?
Let's try 2000.
2000. CC Sabathia. What is CC Sabathia's real name? And no, it is not CC.
It's one of my favorites of the knowing the names because it's so random.
I know
he was a very large man. Wow.
He's a huge person.
Yeah.
I think one of the letters stood for Charles.
That's correct. That's the
second one.
What's the first CC? And it's not doesn't have anything to do with Music Factory.
I don't know. I think.
All right, throw a dart.
Oh,
What
I
do you say?
got it here. Karsten Charles.
I love that. I got it right here. It
Got
says
it right here.
I'm
Just
reading
remembered.
I'm reading it. It says I got it right here in my head.
Just remembered.
Got
it
it
was
right here
Karsten Charles.
in my dream movies. Got it right up there. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and wrap things up. We were hanging out at Casey Cannabis in Blue Springs. The one of 4 locations. They've got all these great specials going on. We'll take a timeout. Come back. Wrap up the show next. Wrapping up this Thursday edition, kccannabis.org. Go there, check it out. The 4 locations. We were hanging out here at the Blue Springs location. They've also got one in Lake Lotawana, Excelsior Springs, Kearney, and the one coming up north near Zona Rosa. It is KC Cannabis. Buy one, get one, 40% off all edibles going on today. They got the happy hour all day long tomorrow on into 420 with the food trucks, vendors, giveaways, and the celebration going on all day on Saturday. Locally owned, locally operated, rooted in community. It is KC Cannabis, our location today. Thank you, Sterling. You did a fantastic job today.
Thank you, Jason.
Well,
Nice
you're
as
welcome.
you've ever been to me.
Well, there you go. Everybody come here, say hi to Hugo.